I'm Matt Mansell, Director of the City of Palm Coast Public Works Department. Each day, over 80 hardworking men and women go out into the city to uphold, maintain, and enhance our quality of life here in the city of Palm Coast by keeping our city beautiful. Our 9 divisions lay the groundwork for our infrastructure, providing maintenance to our median landscapes, managing our irrigation systems, maintaining our city facilities, providing hazard tree removal, keeping up with maintenance and repairs of all city vehicles, working on special capital improvement projects, and various other efforts. It is an honor to do our part in making Palm Coast a great place to live, work, learn, and play. And our department is proud to serve our community each and every day throughout the year.
We are the Water Operations Division, and we're responsible for providing clean and safe drinking water to the city of Palm Coast. We have 37 members in our department. There are water treatment operators, water quality technicians, we have well field technicians, and mechanical technicians. Our division provides the most vital resource we have next to air. Without the volume of safe water we provide, the city's activities, vision couldn't be realized. One thing that we're really proud of is our concentrate recovery. Concentrate is a waste byproduct of water treatment system, and a lot of times that just gets discharged to an open body of water. We collect all of it. We recover 100% of it, so we don't waste any of our natural resource. We recover all of it, and that's all water that can go out to the customer. We've had a lot of advancement in treatment technologies. We now utilize ozone, the concentrate recovery, the ability to go out and do studies based on operator input on how to improve the system has been a great benefit. We still have the challenge of meeting water demand as it grows, but we also have projects to meet those needs. So it's really exciting to see how all that comes together.
We basically are the call center for the city. So we handle water, sewer, trash, stormwater, you name it, we probably handle it. Call center is about 10 people in it. And then we have a front desk at City Hall that takes all the cash payments. So we set up service, we handle cutoffs, we answer questions through Palm Coast Connect. We have 2 supervisors because we do communicate a lot with the utility office. So I have a supervisor at utility, supervisor here, and then we have a lead who kind of manages our Palm Coast Connect cases and our emails, which can be anywhere from about 4,000 to 5,000 a month. Our call center reps probably handle about 100, 150 calls per day per person. So we are very busy. We're trying to be very transparent in the Palm Coast Connect cases to give the residents the ability to see it from start to finish and be transparent. Like if a swale work is going to be done, they can see it on the map to see within a year when it's going to be done. They'll be able to understand that response time through every case, whether it's potholes, whether it's trash mist or, PEP alarms going off. You have that ability to kind of see the case, see notes, live notes on what's going on throughout the case. So we want to make sure that you see everything that our technicians are working on. Customer service is part of our world. We really care about the residents, and every day we're here for them.
Hi, I'm Benny Koch from the Public Works Department of the City of Palm Coast, inviting you to join us on Saturday, May 17th, as we present our annual Touch a Truck event outside Central Park in Town Center. You won't want to miss this exciting day with dozens of awesome vehicles to explore, food trucks, activities, and fun for the whole family. Learn more at palmcoast.gov/events, and we'll see you on May 17th.
I work over in water distribution. I oversee the meter, backflow, and service order division, along with my manager that oversees water distribution construction. We have several dozen employees over in water distribution. We oversee the infrastructure for water mains and water installation for meters. We also read your water meters and do your daily turn on and turn offs. We have a very good relationship within the multiple divisions within utility, whether it be wastewater, water treatment, or water distribution. We work together to make sure that these jobs are done properly. Every job is different, and with that, anything can happen. So when we go out to make a repair or do a job, we make sure that we're prepared for any situation. With water distribution, we are essential. We are here.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Cook, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Norris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pontieri.
Present.
Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here via Zoom.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Councilman Gambaro is running a few minutes late. Let's see. We're going to start this meeting with public participation. I would advise everyone not to make any slanderous statements. And if the item is on the agenda, I don't know if we can get consensus from the dais because there's only one thing on the item on the agenda here. But if it's not on the agenda, please refrain from referring to it, and the subject will come up that you're looking to make your comments on. With that being said, first person for public comment. Does anyone have any public comments? Yes, Mr. Davis.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Davis, and I'm back again, not because I want to be, but because no one else will stand up and say what needs to be said. For almost 2 years, I've raised concerns about drainage and flooding on my property, issues that began only after the city approved an infill home next to mine that was built 30 inches higher, with no real drainage mitigation. I've watched this city approve bad development, ignore the consequences, and then shift the burden onto homeowners. Then in April, you told the public the stormwater system had been upgraded to 42-inch pipes. So I went out, I measured it myself. The outfall pipe to the canal is 36 inches, not 42. That means the upgrade is incomplete, and the system is still bottlenecked at the most important point. Now that it's exposed, no one wants to own it. And what did I get in response? An invite to a committee. A defense of the dirt donation program, as if piles of dirt fix failed infrastructure, and no answers to the actual questions I asked. Why was the pipe size misrepresented? Why is the canal outfall still 36 inches? Who approved a 30-inch elevation next to my home without runoff mitigation? And when will someone take real responsibility for the damage that's already been done? So I will stop here for a second, because I want everyone in this room to really sit with those questions. They've been avoided long enough, and if none of you are ready to answer them today, you better be ready to explain why tomorrow. This isn't about public engagement, it's about accountability. You don't need another committee, you need to fix the pipe. You need to fix the process that allowed this to happen, and you need to stop pretending dirt, PR, and policy language are the same thing as a solution. I know most of you don't care that I keep showing up, but here's what you should care about. Every time I come back, I bring more proof, more people, and more eyes. Every time you sit in silence, the record shows it. This isn't about me raising my voice. It's about you refusing to use yours. You had the chance to fix this when it started. You had the chance to tell the truth. Now you're out of excuses and running out of time, because it's not just me anymore. The public's watching and they're done being lied to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to remind everyone, please, that this whole thing is about the investigation being presented. So if you have comments that are not in reference directly to that investigation, you're more than welcome to comment. Yes, sir.
Mark Webb, Palm Coast.
Yes, sir, Mr. Webb.
So the first thing I'd like to request to hopefully keep from having last Tuesday's debacle is to remove the availability of proxy voting for critical and important things within this city. I too Zoom struggle Mr. Sullivan and I have been on that side of not hearing and struggling to understand what happens, and I've been involved in some very high-level meetings. That is not appropriate, needed, or justified. When this city council meets for an implied need or requirement to pass or vote on something, every one of you should be present. That's what the city expects. If you can't be here and that happens, move it, delay it. But having an example, sadly an example of the failure of hearing, the failure of understanding a vote, to vote, I mean, if we hadn't gone around and talked to people Tuesday night's vote, we would probably have a city manager sitting here right now. Learn from our lessons, understand that there are certain things we do very well, require each of you to be present when we have an election, a vote in this case. The second thing is, I want to confirm, which Councilmember Miller confirmed, yes, there were 3 elected officials sitting on this council. You were all elected with quite a few votes for various reasons. In speaking with the latest council member, Mr. Miller, he was very much proud and talked about his goal to be a physical conservative, to look into the building issues that occur. Yet he sat up here and he has approved and voted the largest debt bond the city is and will probably ever have. Whether he had a choice on that, I would have never wanted to be in that seat. And also, he has approved and voted for multiple building projects, which you, Mayor, had not. By any definition I've seen, I consider that malfeasance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person for public, yes, Jeannie. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi, Jeannie Duarte, C-section. This has been disturbing to watch. I too am disappointed with Ty Miller. I supported him, and I'm not happy with what I've seen. However, it is Teresa Pontieri, Councilwoman Pontieri, and Ed Danko, who wrote the language to remove Provision 3E in our election to vote, removing all of our right to vote in referendum, removing the spending cap and the 36-month deadline, repayment deadline. That's appalling. That you should be ashamed of yourself for even putting that on the ballot to vote in the first place. I also have been told that Pontieri has her eye on the mayor's seat. You are appointed vice mayor. I'm disturbed that this is a tactic that you and the other appointees here may have pulled off to try to steal this seat from the mayor. I'm ashamed of you. I stand here to support our mayor, Mike Norris.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Miss Connie.
Connie Sparks, Z section. Today I was at National Day of Prayer with all the churches and all the pastors, and I am disturbed to see these people up here, other than Mike Norris, that are evil, misconduct, overspending, not helping the residents. That's why we put Mike in office. Now you want to take him out. Especially you, Mr. Gambaro. Nobody voted for you. Why are you even here? You know,
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry.
Not you, Miss Connie. You can say what you want. Everyone
I'm
else,
sorry.
please hold it down.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep my composure. My husband's a pastor of United Methodist Church in Palm Coast, one of the largest churches in Palm Coast. And we are here to help the community, the people, but you people that I've been coming to these meetings have done nothing for us. Nothing except building homes, you're being paid by the developers. You know, we all know this. We're not stupid. And we are going to get you out. You, and you too. You got to go. And if we're trying to get a city manager, Ms. Lauren, why don't you take the job since you're so qualified? Why don't you put your name in for it? Why didn't you ever apply for it? If you're, so great and, why do we need another assistant city manager? That's ridiculous. Pay another paycheck? More money? And coming out of our pockets? This is totally ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I come from Philadelphia, New Jersey, and I'm ashamed to be a resident of Palm Coast, and I support Mike Norris. And we will do everything humanly possible. If I have to go to Tallahassee and talk to everybody there, yous are going, he's staying. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. McDonald, I'm sorry. You gonna let her go before you, Mr. McDonald? Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Cindy Spain. I live in the S section, and I've never done this before, but hey, there's always a first time.
Just relax. Don't worry about it.
Mike Norris doesn't have to be loved by everyone. I've been a military dependent my entire life. He's a strong military leader, and I think that's what we need, somebody that's going to stand up for the people who actually voted him in. You don't have to love his personality. You have to love what he's doing. It's kind of like Trump. Not everybody loves Trump, but I certainly love what he's doing. Mike is doing what we voted for him to do. And the rest of you have been a huge disappointment. People I put my name behind and voted for. I run a group of women, and just so you know, Mike, I think most of us support you and my group, and we want you to stay. Everybody's worried about the M word, the moratorium. I think that was the best thing that he said. They're saying that all the people lose their jobs and all the electricians and everything will leave and go away. Maybe they'll actually start showing up for the homeowners that call and nobody shows up. I mean, I hear all the time where people call and try to get something scheduled and nobody shows up. So maybe these electricians and plumbers and tilers and this and that will actually start showing up for people if they don't have all these homes to build. We need to slow down the home building, get more businesses in here, establish the infrastructure does not support all this building. All that, I live in Seminole and I'm just Seminole Woods, and I see all the building construction going on there, and it's sickening. It's why I moved to that section, because it wasn't bombarded with homes and everything else. Fortunately, I have not had to deal with the flooding issue, but I've read and I have friends that have, and it's been terrible. And until we start dealing with the swales and the drainage in this city that can handle the people and get our water better, we don't need any more building. I think your moratorium was great, and I think we need to stick with that. But we need to stick with Mike, because that's who we voted for. And like I said, we don't have to love his personality. We just have to love what he does, and that's what he's doing.
Thank you, ma'am. Next person for public comment. Yes, Mr. McDonald.
Few reflections on Tuesday night's meeting, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Totally the biggest circus I've ever seen in my life. I've been here before the city was a city. I've never seen anything like that in my life. It was just amazing. You know, it goes beyond out of control. It was a circus. But let me tell you about one observation that I did make. Okay, in all that chaos, okay, the mayor was the only guy who switched his vote. Why did he switch his vote? Because he wanted to get something done. He wanted to get a city manager installed here. But yet, even with him switching his vote, okay, you, sir, did not, okay? And I didn't see a whole lot of other switching going on. But of all people, the mayor switched his vote just in order to get a new city manager in the seat. That's what we should be paying attention to, okay? I'm pretty amazed at what went on that night, you know, and so leaving that aside, sometime back, about a month or so ago, I came back to you about the utilities. We talk about the utilities all the time and the millions of dollars it's going to take to fix it, okay? And we presented some numbers here, $620 million, which Mr. DiLorenzo admitted wasn't going to take care of the problem for the 19,000 units, okay, that have development orders out in this city, okay, which comes down to around $34,000 a unit. The bottom line here is, did you hear what Mr. DiLorenzo said when he walked away from the podium? The mayor asked him, does that take care of the problem with $620 million for a bond issue? No, was his answer. He wasn't real clear on that because he was walking away. No, he did not. We have a problem here. We need to get to it and pay attention. We need a city manager. You could have had a city manager the other night, okay? The mayor switched his vote in order to do it, but yet nobody else here in the council wanted to make it happen. And so the concern that I see here is I know that the acting city manager doesn't want to be the city manager. She doesn't live in the city, and she doesn't want to live in the city. So here's what the theory is that's going around, okay? The reason you voted that way the other night is maybe you're just maybe you think you're going to put Jason DiLorenzo in the seat. That's never going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Lisa. You're closer. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, council members and fellow citizens and Mr. Mayor. I am concerned
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Josephine.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'd like to say, yes, I am concerned about all the building that's going on over here. But that's not my main concern that's going on here.
Keep the mic
That is
close.
not my main concern that's going on here.
Not that close. Just normal speak, but you got to keep your mouth towards the microphone.
Okay, sure, okay. I've lived in Palm Coast for 22 years, and I have 3 grown children, a teacher, a medical IT engineer, and my youngest for the city. All of them contribute so much to this community, and I am incredibly proud. But lately, I am worried for my child and his coworkers are working in this toxic environment. What should be a professional, respectful workplace has been turned into a chaos driven by verbal abuse and intimidation from this mayor. That's not leadership, that's dysfunction. My husband is a 21-year veteran war from Iraq. And he and I both voted for this mayor, and we both regret it now. Me too. Because my husband, despite decades of military service, has never spoke to people the way this mayor has spoken. Military service is no excuse here. For he is unprofessional and he has abusive verbal behavior. At a recent meeting, one of the mayor's supporters stood up and said she's going to get her stick to make the staff act right. That's passion, that's promoting violence. And the online threats to storm the city, deeply disturbing here. I look forward and I see the people, but I see humans, but I don't see humanity anymore. Where is the compassion? Where is the decency? The mayor even said anyone new here shouldn't be over 40 hired because they're a liability. Yet, he's over 40. That kind of hypocrisy only depends on the divide. It rules for thee, but not for me. For those of you sitting silently, asking, you really think about the harm that he is causing? This is not a joke. This is not unity. This is a workplace in crisis. I pray for resolution for our staff, our city, and all of Palm Coast. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, ma'am. Okay, the gallery needs to hold it down, please. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Lisa. Just, you guys have made rules to change things, We got the security out there. We're not allowed to have big posters or whatever. Can we make one more rule? And that is no cell phones up there. You guys shouldn't be receiving texts, reading from somebody, telling you what to say, what to do. phones should be put away. You're here for the people to have a meeting, have some respect, put the phones away. Seriously. You know, I've heard of other people, council members sitting up there getting texts from somebody. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be fully involved and present when people are speaking during the entire meeting. Put the phones away. You guys need to make that a rule. Shouldn't be any phones up there. It's very rude. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, Gary, go right ahead.
Gary Kunis, C-section. I know some of you are digging and digging to see what you can dig up on Mike. We have information from Tallahassee on you in particular and your background. And if the people knew it and didn't have all that smoke when Alan was running, you wouldn't be there. Okay? Now, Mr. Gambaro, you don't belong up there either. Okay? You were illegally put in there by the last council. So I brought a friend along here. This is you, right here. You're a damn puppet. You're a puppet of Reiner and Danko. You don't belong up there. Please leave. Okay? The only one that belongs up there is Mike. He's got the handle on it, and that's the problem. Y'all don't like it. You got $40,000 from Renner. So anything you want, you shoot down everything you're trying to do, except for building. And you shot down a moratorium. So what are you going to do? Feed the people new homes, sand for water and sand for sewage? Why don't you have the builders pay for the new sewer plants and water plants? Okay? And if this keeps going, I'm going to start bringing out all the stuff about you that's been hidden. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Olive, did you have something? I saw you started to stand up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Larry Olive, F section. I listened to the person talking about military don't have respect, or they don't talk like that, or this or that. That's a bunch of baloney. Quite honestly, I spent over 20 years in the service, and I have a very hard time not using certain words at certain times when people are being stupid. Yes, sir. And I don't care, Marines, Air Force, Navy, whatever. You'll all use language during your service time that a lot of people today would say that's not acceptable, but truth is, that's the way we worked. We called each other names and we did our jobs. Unfortunately, this city council has embarrassed the city. There's so much rhetoric going around that I don't even know what the heck to believe half the time. And I sure wish and hope, well, I know Mike's probably the only glue that we have left. The rest of you need to get your acts together. We need a city people to speak up for it. And we definitely need a new city manager because she doesn't want to be here. So let her go. We would love to see somebody be in there that wants to work for the city, not for I don't know what else.
That's it. Stop it. Both of you, stop it. We're not going to carry on in the gallery, private conversations. If you want to have a private conversation, take it outside the door.
Don't be rude. Just ask me to be quiet, and I'll be quiet. You don't have to carry on like that.
Sir, if you can't be quiet, leave the room. Mr. Olive, please continue.
I would love to get us a city manager that wants to manage. Most of the communities I've lived in, the mayor was the city manager and he took care of business. This is unbelievable what's going on right now. And it's hard for me to see it. Even some of my neighbors have asked, what are we going to do, sell our house and move? I hope it doesn't come to that, because I moved here for a reason, to retire and play golf at Palm Harbor. And you people up here just don't seem to understand that if we would manage things properly, including the city, then we wouldn't have to even talk about this. So there's more I could say, but I'll quit right there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any-
Michelle Robbins, and I live in the K section.
Yes, ma'am.
And I had the opportunity during open office hours to visit Mike one time. And the only thing I can say is that his heart for the city came through. It was evident, and who else is holding open office hours? That was unheard of for me. So I just think that he's doing a great job and should continue.
Thank you, ma'am. And Kendra and Sheriff, if you're listening or watching the video, I did meet with Mr. Olive and the Weavers down in the S section today. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Do we have any comments from the city manager? You have anything?
No, Mayor.
City council, any members of city council have anything? Yes, Vice Mayor.
For those who, I'm not going to retort everything that was falsely stated by many people, but if anybody does want to contact me to talk to me directly about the things that have been said or thought that are simply not true, and there's a lot of it, my phone number is on the website, my email is on the website, I respond to emails, I offer people to call me all the time. Rarely do they. I often get, well, no, we don't need to talk. Okay, well, I think we do. When you have something to say about me, and I don't get to respond, nor should I respond substantively in a place like this, because I don't think that this back and forth about me personally is healthy for the city, and I'm not so self-centered that I need to defend myself up here to every little thing, but I do encourage each of you to reach out to me, and we can speak, because I would like to clear some things up that have been incorrectly stated. If you don't want to hear it, you don't have to reach out, but I welcome you to.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Canberra, you have anything? No, I'm good. Councilman Sullivan, you still online? You have anything?
Okay, I'm new. The one thing I wanted to let everybody know, it was impossible to track what was going on at the meeting, at our last meeting. There was one gentleman who talked about that. It was totally garbled. I can hear clearly today. It's straightforward. I can hear the people at and all the mics are working fine. I just wanted to reiterate that that was a problem caused by technology, not necessarily by me. It was just almost impossible to follow what was going on in the meeting because of the garbled audio. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Just maybe a couple of housekeeping items. Did the rest of the council receive the investigation concerning the terminations and suspensions in the building department?
Yes.
Does anyone have any comments on that? I'm sorry, Councilman Miller. Let me start by this. Had you been aware of any of that before I requested those documents? Councilman Miller, you have something?
I'm going to raise a point of order. Can we cover this during council comments at the end of the meeting when it's more appropriate?
Well, it's just housekeeping. I just want to make sure you guys got them and if you were aware of it before I had the city clerk send you those documents. That's all I'd like to know.
Okay, if that's it, then yes, I was made aware.
You were already aware of it before
Several
that?
months ago, actually, before you brought it up.
All right.
I was not. I wasn't here.
Okay.
But I did get the message. Yes.
So, what about you?
I have a receipt, and I was tracking, yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. I don't have anything else to say because this is an odd situation because I'm actually the defendant. So we're going to move on. I would like to take a moment and apologize to the two finalists, Mr. Trambino and Mr. Huff, for what happened on Tuesday night during that city council meeting. I feel that both of those gentlemen were qualified for the job of city manager. I actually called both of them yesterday to personally apologize, but I want to formally apologize on behalf of the citizens of Palm Coast, and I want to apologize to them and their family because they had to make that trip down here. I hope it wasn't it wasn't just a vacation for him, okay? So if you're listening, Mr. Huff and Mr. Trambino, I completely apologize for the actions of this city. Moving on, we're moving on to item E, presentation investigation report. Ms. Fuller, if you don't mind, would you please come to the front because a lot of these issues are human resources related. And while we're taking care of that, let's see. Thank you for being here, Mr. Brandon. It's Mr. Brandon, right?
Yes.
Adam Brandon. Okay, so.
So, Mr. Mayor, so if I can just go on here. So, Mr. Adam Brandon is the hired investigator. He does have some introductions that he's going to introduce to you guys, go over his report, and then after that, he'll be open for questions.
Okay, I got a couple of questions before we begin. Mr. Duffy, can we treat this meeting as a quasi-judicial matter?
No.
We cannot. So we cannot have anyone sworn in, correct?
This is not a quasi-judicial matter.
So we cannot have anyone sworn in?
No, the purpose of this meeting, as directed by the city council, was to have the investigator come and discuss his investigation report.
Okay.
If the council wants to go a different way, we would need a consensus.
Okay. Because I would like anyone that's going forward through the remainder of this briefing, I would like them sworn in. Can I get a consensus on that?
I have no issue with that.
Councilman Miller?
Yeah, I mean, who are we swearing in?
Everybody that wants to say anything going forward, it steps up to the microphone or out there as staff.
Sure.
Do you have any problem with that? Mr. Sullivan, do you have any problem with that?
No.
Okay, if that being said, Ms. Cook, are you prepared?
So I'm going to jump in here. So we are not rehashing this investigation.
I'm not asking that.
No, I know. I'm just making sure we put this out here. So I do not want this to be a interrogation. I do not want witnesses being asked questions. Right now, at the direction of this council, Mr. Brandon is presenting his investigation. Now, if this council wants to ask other witnesses questions, that's fine. But the purpose of this meeting was for Mr. Brandon to present his investigation. Is my advice to this council that no other witnesses should be asked questions today.
Okay, not even the human resources manager that all these complaints came through?
I strongly advise against doing that.
Well, I don't feel that way. Because this was, okay, hold it down. This technically was an informal investigation, Marcus. Am I right or wrong on that?
It was an investigation. You can call it formal or informal.
Well, formal investigations, you typically have people's sworn statements. That was my next question. Are all these witness statements sworn statements?
This is an administrative matter in front of the city council. So there's no procedures for that. So right now, the city council directed this person to do an investigation.
Yep.
They did not say that things had to be sworn. There's no rules like that under your policies and procedures or under this charter that require that.
Okay. City manager, has this investigation been transmitted to the Florida Ethics Commission or the governor's office?
No, Mayor, I have no direction to do that, sir.
They were not directed to forward that? Because I did not watch that council meeting, so I'm kind of playing catch up.
Yeah, understood. So the last, when we did have that meeting, the council directed me to draft a complaint to the Ethics Commission, which has not been submitted yet.
Okay. The reason I want to be able to, really, the two people that are sitting there are only two people that need to be up there and give any testimony. But I do have some questions for Ms. Fuller.
So again, you would need consensus from council to go the opposite way.
Can I get consensus from council to ask Ms. Fuller a few questions? And I think in my position, I should be able to ask questions of our city's human resources manager when I've only had, I think, maybe 2 face-to-face contacts with her since I've been in office.
Can we get the report first? Can we get the report?
Well, we got some things we got to take care of before we get to the report, Council.
Well, the action item is to receive the report.
Yes.
Well, let's do that.
Well, but I need to be able to ask the human resources director some questions. Can I get consensus for that?
I think that questions should come after the report,
Well,
I think is the point.
But there's a few questions that need to be asked up front.
Well, Mayor, respectfully, I don't think there was anything precluding you from meeting with Ms. Fuller separately rather than making it a spectacle up here. That's what it is.
This is a spectacle. Okay.
You're right. That is what it's being turned
Oh,
into.
I'm just repeating what you said. I'm not saying that it is a spectacle.
I think
okay.
that here's my issue, Mayor, is that we are already being opened up to legal liability for all of the things that have occurred as stated in this report by employees. Asking our HR director questions that could further expose us to liability in this manner is, I don't think, smart. I think that if going through the report, if there's something in that report specifically with regards to what's already in there and you need clarification, then I can understand that. But from my understanding, Ms. Fuller's door is open to all of us at any time.
Okay. All right. I got something I need to do. I'm going to hand this to you. I move that 24 hours from the end of this meeting, we as a council hold a closed-door city council meeting concerning 4 witness statements that will require discussion of matters that fall under the Florida Statute 288.075, commercial development and capital improvements, confidential records. One of these witnesses offered me a quid pro quo if I allowed the city's 2050 comprehensive plan move forward as written by the previous council. This offer was presented to me in the presence of a witness whose testimony is above reproach as a decorated, retired sheriff's detective from the Broward County Sheriff's Department. So that is my motion, that we have a closed city council meeting within 24 hours, which meets our requirement, and I would like someone to second that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion. I'm just kind of confused. So there was.
Okay, I'll explain it to you. We got a second. We're in discussion. I had one witness statement in here as an outside entity offered me a quid pro quo if I approve the 2050 comprehensive plan as written and let it go forward. And that is a very serious matter, and we need to have a closed-door session so we can iron all this out.
Well, I guess my first question would be, when did this occur?
I don't have to tell you that, Councilman. I'm telling you what happened.
And is this witness your spouse?
It doesn't matter who the witness is, Council.
Broward County Sheriff's Deputy?
It doesn't matter. So I made my motion. We got a second. Is there any more discussion from the dais?
Why is it closed session?
Because I can't discuss some of the things that need to be discussed that fall under state statute 288.075 because of confidentiality agreements signed by a lot of you and what we fall under in Florida statute. I can't talk about that in this council meeting, in this open forum.
I would like to know more detail. I feel like I'm in the dark here, and this is.
Well, that's why you have a closed
I want to know
door
why
meeting.
it wasn't brought up previously. Why wasn't it brought up previously?
Well, these investigations, these witness statements, no one ever came to me saying this is a problem. The human resources manager never came to me and said, sir, we have an issue. The city manager never came to me and said, sir, we had an issue. The one time she did bring something to my attention, I brought the communications department together and personally apologized and explained my actions, but still it's in these reports. So what I need to discuss cannot be discussed in this open forum without violating Florida state statute. Hold it down in the gallery, please.
I have the gavel, Mayor. Any other comment from the dais?
I just would ask the city attorney your thoughts on this in terms of.
So, yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm not aware of any special meeting that we can have. You can only have a closed-door meeting for 2 reasons. One is a litigation to discuss that, or you can have a closed-door meeting as a council, for labor union discussions. And I am not aware of any, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I am currently not aware of any other exception that you guys can meet behind closed doors.
I think our policies state that the mayor can call a closed-door meeting if there's something that warrants it, if I'm understanding correctly.
No, I'm going to respectfully disagree. The mayor cannot call a the mayor can call a special meeting, but not a closed-door meeting.
Correct.
Well, but it has to be behind closed door because we're dealing with Florida statute that's covered under confidentiality agreements.
Again, I'm not aware of any other exception other than what I talked about, an executive meeting or a labor union discussions.
We have another attorney in here. Well, I'm sorry. Can we ask, you're an attorney, Ms. Pontieri. What's your opinion on it? Do you feel as a council member that you need to know this information?
Of course, and I think it should be done in a special meeting in the sunshine.
We will be violating Florida statute if we have it in the open. I'm sure everyone signed confidentiality agreements.
Have you brought this up with our attorney previously to have him advise you that we would violate the Florida statute?
Well, I know for a fact we'll violate the Florida statute.
That wasn't my question, Mayor. Did you ask our counsel for counsel before we got here today on this?
I did not. Well, like I said, a lot of things have been said that have not been brought to my attention. So,
I would be 100% in favor of a special meeting where we discuss what it is you're talking about. If the attorney advises that some of the things that you're referencing need to not be spoken about from the dais, we can talk about the rest of the subject matter without breaching those confidentiality issues or violating the statute per his advice. So that way, whatever it is that you're talking about, all of us can talk about in the sunshine. I would 100% be on board with that.
Councilman, I'm sorry, ask Councilman if you don't mind.
Mr. Sullivan, Councilman Sullivan, do you have any comment about this issue?
The one comment I would have is, in my experience, 8 years on the county, silent or closed-door sessions are extremely rare. And based on my memory of those meetings, they fall in line with what our attorney has said.
So I think at this point, I would just withdraw my second.
You can't withdraw. Call the question.
Mayor, you don't have the gavel.
I can call the question.
No, you can't. You don't have the gavel, Mayor. Is there any further comment before we call the vote? Kaylee, please call the vote.
Vice Mayor Pontieri,
No.
Councilmember Gambaro,
No.
Councilmember Miller,
No.
Councilmember Sullivan,
No.
Mayor Norris.
Yes.
The motion fails.
Okay,
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for a special meeting to discuss what it is that you've referenced there. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
discussion?
I want to know what it is that you're referencing. Obviously, if that's occurring, we need to know about it and we need to take action on it. It should be discussed in the sunshine.
Well, I'm telling you, there's stuff in here. There's stuff that I've experienced since being in this office that falls under that statute because it's supposed to remain confidential. As a matter of fact, Councilman Gambaro mentioned a name of a project that was under confidentiality, and the newspaper got wind of it and started doing research, so we had to go ahead and start talking about that project, if everyone recalls that project. I won't even say the name's project because it shouldn't have happened.
More conspiracy than lies.
All right. My suggestion is that if...
Hold it down.
If there are things that you're concerned about, Mayor, respectfully, I would ask that you discuss them with Marcus so that if there is a vote for a special meeting, we can make sure we're not violating those things and he can advise us accordingly.
Okay, so 24 hours from the end of this meeting, Marcus, tomorrow, we will have another meeting.
No, that's not what that was not what that. So, what, Ms. Pontieri, what exactly were you asking? That's not how I understood her motion.
I made a motion to have a special meeting in the sunshine regarding the issues that the mayor has brought up. I think that we would have to probably pick a time. I didn't make it for any date certain. I can do it tomorrow, but that wasn't a part of my motion because I don't know what everybody else has going on.
You have consensus to do it tomorrow?
So I will tell you this, to do something that's 24 hours needs to be something that's in emergency status or it's such important that cannot wait. Now, if I have more information, I can advise accordingly. It might be appropriate, Mr. Mayor, that you and I have a conversation so I can advise the council, since you want to, respectfully, you want to keep it confidential, I understand. So I can advise the council more than if we do need to have it, then we can schedule it for Friday or Monday. But that would be my advice. You usually only have special meetings in 24 hours when it's in emergency status or something that has to be decided right away.
Well, seeing as how this packet is supposed to be sent up to the State Ethics Committee, it kind of is an emergency for me. So, so that's the whole reason I was trying to do a closed-door meeting where we could do it tomorrow and be done with it. But, you know.
I can do it tomorrow in the sunshine, Mayor.
Okay. Any further discussion? Councilman Sullivan?
I'm available.
Okay. Any other discussions?
I'm not available. My daughter's graduating from the University of Florida tomorrow.
But we'll have a quorum. Ms. Cook, call to vote.
Wait, sorry. Make sure we're clear, so we don't have to do this, like, we don't have a time, so we just want sometime tomorrow afternoon after 2 o'clock, since we need to get 24 hours notice.
Since once this meeting ends, 24 hours from then.
Is that the motion?
Yes, it is.
You didn't make the motion, Mayor,
Well,
Vice Mayor.
that's what Ms. Pontier just agreed to that, so.
Could I just make one point that could be a complicating factor? And that is that I still, based on my recovery, orders by the doctor, and I'm wearing a bracelet, I cannot leave my home until Monday. I could be available on Monday, but I can do the Zoom like this. That also is going to create problems for confidentiality. You may not be able to do that via Zoom. I'm available via Zoom for an open meeting in the sunshine. I would not be available for a closed session tomorrow, probably due to, hate to say it, due to technical difficulties.
May I make a suggestion that if the concern of it being of an emergent nature is that the ethics complaint would be sent to Tallahassee with this statement included, that we agree not to send the statement to Tallahassee until after Tuesday's meeting and add it to the agenda for Tuesday. That will have a full council, which is what this type of issue warrants.
I have no problem with that.
Do we have consensus?
I'm good with that, yes.
Well, we'll have to obviously pass the motion first, but in the case, I will make the motion for this issue to be added to, I will withdraw my last motion for a special meeting. I will make a motion. Can you withdraw your second?
I withdraw my second.
Thank you. I will make a motion to have this issue added to Tuesday's agenda, and that this council agree not to send anything to the ethics board until at least after Tuesday.
Second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any discussion from the dais? Call to vote, Ms. Cook.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
All right, we'll move on with Mr. Brandon's presentation of the investigation. I would like to reference something real quick, if I could. Give me a second if I can find it. Your investigation, Mr. Brandon, on the first page of that ethics complaint from Mr. Danko that was included in this packet, I can't find it right now. It's part of this packet, right?
It's an exhibit.
It's an exhibit. Could you go to the page 1 of that?
Okay.
Okay, what does it say about confidentiality on there? Could you read that to us, please?
Which section are you talking
It's about a
about?
third of the way down on the first page of that.
Please provide a full explanation of your complaint.
No,
Describing the facts.
hold on,
and-
I may have to find a picture of it. You found it, Ms. Pontieri?
I
Did
know
you-
what you're getting at. So
Did you read it?
I don't know what you're talking about, but these are considered confidential by the Florida Ethics Commission. I actually got wind of concern that this should not have been included in this investigation for confidentiality reasons. I therefore called the Florida Ethics Commission to make sure we were abiding by all the rules, and was told by the attorney that was on call. The Florida Ethics Commission has different attorneys on call all the time. And you can call and talk to him if you'd like, Mr. Shaver. He told me that the Florida Ethics Commission is bound by confidentiality. So in other words, if you file something and somebody calls up there and says, did Mike Norris file a complaint? They cannot say one way or the other until a certain point in that investigation. However, a complainant at any time can release the investigation, which is what happened in this case, and so can the person that's the subject of the complaint. So you could have released it, or Mr. Danko could have released it, and it's not a violation of any confidentiality. Only that what you're talking about, because I shared your concern, what you're talking about is only applicable to what the Florida Ethics Commission can or cannot do.
What about the part where it's talking about, as far as an ethics complaint, using another ethics complaint in your complaint?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
Using someone else's ethics complaint in a complaint. So
Well,
you're saying that is part of the evidence in another ethics complaint?
Well, from my understanding, I haven't talked to Mr. Danko. I'll talk to Mr. Danko, but I haven't spoken to him. But from what it seems, just from the investigation, obviously, we can ask these questions. But rather than give an additional statement and basically copy and paste what he put in his complaint, he just said, just take my complaint as my statement. I'm unaware of anything that doesn't, or that prevents him from doing that. I don't know. I didn't ask that question specifically.
Mr. Brandon, did you find that paragraph we're talking about? Did you find it?
Can I step in here, please? This is my recommendation, and then council, you do whatever you want. But I would recommend that you have Mr. Brandon do his presentation, and then after that, you guys can ask questions. I don't think it's fair to ask him questions before he can present what he found. If you would like to, you can go against my advice, but that's my advice as your city attorney.
Sir, did you find it?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
Did you find that portion? Did you read it?
I found the portion that says statement of facts. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's where it's talking about confidentiality and using ethics complaints in other ethics complaints.
So section 1 is person bringing complaint, section 2 is person against whom complaint is brought, section 3 is statement of facts, section 4 is oath, and then there's Mr. Danko's 3 pages that he added.
I'm going to try to find it real quick. Hold on.
Okay, can we move forward with the investigation
Yeah, I
while
know.
you're looking?
Yes, go ahead. You can go ahead and begin, Mr. Brandon.
Would you prefer that I come up to the podium?
Yes. Well, no, if you feel comfortable sitting there, that's fine.
I'm comfortable either way, whatever you want.
It's up to you, sir. It's your choice.
Okay, so I realize that we've already had some questions going back and forth, but just so the record
Sir,
is-
could you please speak directly into the microphone for those listening?
State your name.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Does this work? Better? Okay. Sometimes I move side to side, so if that happens again, just let me know. So just so everybody knows, I'm Adam Brandon. I'm an attorney with Lawson Huck Gonzalez, and I'm the outside investigator. As a little bit of background about me, I've had 2 legal careers. So first, I've been in the military and the Navy, both active and reserve, for 17 years. Deployed to Iraq and prosecuted terrorists in Iraqi court, have served in Gitmo, and that's pretty much all I can say about that. Currently the executive officer of a 60-person reserve unit. And then for the last 12 years, I've been practicing civil litigation at a regional firm in Jacksonville. And then a year ago, I joined our current firm, or my current firm, Lawson Huck Gonzalez, where we represent a lot of state agencies, local governments, and other parts of the state. This is the first engagement that we've ever had with the city of Palm Coast. I believe we bid on one before, but this is the first one that we were actually retained on. So this is my first time meeting everybody here in person. Obviously, I've talked to some of the witnesses, including you, Mr. Mayor, but this is the first time that I've ever actually come here and actually seen anybody in person, and I can say that I don't believe that I've met anybody in this room in person before this investigation. So, but that being said, happy to be in Palm Coast. I can see why the mayor was elected. I believe that the mayor is a very candid person, speaks authentically, sometimes without a filter, but I think that that type of authenticity, it's easy to see why someone would win the important position of being the mayor.
Can you pause for just a second, Mr. Brandon? It's section 3, the last paragraph. It says, all complaints are confidential until a certain point in the proceedings. Do not cross-reference the filing of an ethics complaint against another person in your statements of fact.
Okay, if I may.
So the ethics complaint that's going to supposedly going forward from this council will be cross-referencing another ethics complaint with Mr. Danko's investigation included.
And upon further, just to make sure we all understand that, if that is a rule for the Ethics Commission and an ethics complaint, then I would be in favor of just removing Ed Danko's portion of the ethics, his statement. I would be in favor of removing that. Because this is kind of being sprung on us, I just want to make sure that that is what that means, and without having to make a knee-jerk reaction right here. But if that is the case, I would be 100% in favor of redacting Mr. Danko's full complaint.
Continue on, Mr. Brandon.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, I don't see that section in enclosure 20 to the report, so you may be referring to something else, but unless you can direct me to it, I'm not able to independently verify that. What I will tell you with respect to Mr. Danko is that he had reached out to me. I asked him if he wanted to provide a statement for this investigation. He said no. He said he had filed a complaint with the Florida Commission on Ethics. He then sent me that complaint and asked me to use that in lieu of a statement. So this complaint was released at the direction and with the permission of Mr. Danko, who's the complainant. So with regard to whatever you want to do in the future in terms of a potential other complaint that attaches this, so I'm not going to provide any legal advice on that, but I would encourage you to talk with your city attorney, and if that is what something says, then it'd help to have that specifically cited.
Okay, thank you, sir. You can continue on.
So I believe, has everybody received a copy of this complaint, everyone on the dais? Okay. I believe the investigation speaks for itself. I'll just say generally that this originally came up, or at least to my attention, with regard to the conversation between the mayor and the acting city manager and the chief of staff and the city attorney who was on the phone. So I understood from the beginning that I would need to talk to those 4 witnesses, and then along the way I've been willing to talk to anybody who either reached out to me directly and said that they wanted to provide a statement, or in some cases they reached out directly to the city attorney, who then gave me their information, and so I called them and spoke with them. So that I've been willing to talk to anybody throughout this investigation, and I think in general, if you read through all the statements, you'll find that they are all very consistent with each other. You'll understand that this is not a criminal investigation. The statements were not taken under oath, but if you read them closely, compare them with each other, there are some minor variations, but in general, they say a very similar account of what happened in this situation. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the report. So just let me know.
So we can ask questions, right, Marcus? Councilman Gambaro, you got anything?
Adam, can you walk us through your recommendations?
Certainly. So
For the general public that doesn't have that in front of them.
So for anyone who has a copy of it, the recommendations are in section 5 on page 10 of the report. I should also emphasize that I am simply the outside attorney who came in here to investigate. I understand that I am not elected. I don't have any decision-making authority. These recommendations are not necessarily a checklist of everything that the council should do. I'm simply presenting options for things that the council may want to consider as you decide how you want to respond to this and how serious you determine that this is. So The first recommendation is to refer it for further legal review, and I said that the City Council may refer this matter to the Florida Commission on Ethics. That's the first recommendation. Second is initiate formal censure proceedings. The City Council may adopt a formal resolution censoring Mayor Mike Norris for conduct unbecoming of a public official, including violations of the city charter. I understand that there has been already a vote of no confidence. And then the next recommendation is to strengthen the charter's enforcement mechanisms. And this really comes back to the fact that you have a city charter for Palm Coast that's relatively bare bones. And there are provisions in there that are very clear, such as it's setting up a council manager form of government. Some people call this a weak mayor form of government, where essentially the council, as you know, sets policy. You set the overall direction for the city. And then operational decisions go down to the city manager, who is typically someone who has been appointed by the entire city council. And then the city manager has the responsibility for overseeing all of the city employees. The charter is very, very clear that there are only certain officials, certain city employees who can be relieved or terminated by a vote of the entire city council. So one of those would be the city manager. The other one would be the city attorney. That's something that collectively you as a city council have the right to decide. And I understand that you had your meeting on Tuesday where you're considering several candidates to be the actual permanent city manager, which, by the way, everybody who I talked to this investigation said that that is the number one thing that the city needs to do in order to restore some order. But to go back to this recommendation, the problem is that this structure is laid out very clearly in the charter, but it's not clear what should happen if someone violates that. So the mayor, individual city council members, you don't have individual rights to go in and tell people how to manage, operationally and make the operational decisions and manage city employees. Collectively, you have that right. And it says that you can't interfere with city employees who are under the purview or supervision of the city manager. But the charter doesn't say what happens if that's violated. And so you have a situation where you have a very clear charter, but you don't have clear enforcement mechanisms. So I can't tell you exactly what you need to do to amend the charter, but something needs to be done so that you can think about, if this situation were to ever happen again, is there a way to correct it so that it doesn't blow up into this apparent crisis that we're dealing with today. The next recommendations were to restore our professional environment. The first one we've already discussed is to hire a permanent city manager. It's obviously critical to have a permanent city manager who has the trust and confidence of the city council and is also able to have the respect of all the employees. And this is not at all a criticism of the acting city manager, but when you are installed as the permanent city manager with a vote by the full council, that lends authority and helps to establish relationships of trust between the council and the manager. And then also the city employees know that they have a manager who's been voted on by the entire council. So that's important. That needs to happen. I couldn't help but notice, as I was talking through all the witnesses, that people had very different understandings of what the charter meant, and there are also questions about what the Sunshine Law meant. The law is supposed to be objective. There can be situations where people disagree with the law, where you think the law should change, and there may be some situations where there is some legitimate ambiguity. But it's not okay to just say, I disagree with the law, or have one person on council think that this is what the law means, and then the other person thinks something is entirely different. So with that in mind, my recommendation is that there be some additional training for all council members and key city employees on the city charter, the Sunshine Law, ethics rules for public officers, and what respectful workplace conduct looks like. There needs to be some training so that everybody has an objective basis that they can refer back to about which laws and what type of government we're actually operating under. The next concern that I had was that I spoke with many city employees, and you obviously have all of their statements. I can tell you that every city employee I spoke with was in a very tricky situation. They chose their words very carefully, because not all of them, but at least 2/3 of them were concerned about retaliation for coming forward. And obviously, if you have a new city manager, a permanent city manager who gets voted in, that person, whoever he or she is, will have the right to terminate any city employee who reports to them. And there's, we don't have to get into labor and employment law in Florida, but there's broad discretion to do that. But it would be inappropriate for someone to be terminated solely because they provided a statement to this investigation. And that is something that many city employees were concerned about. So we need to make sure that we have some sort of protection or means to monitor to make sure that no city employee faces retaliation simply for the fact that they gave a statement. That needs to be monitored. And then I also said that we need to have a mechanism for monitoring concerns about the relationship between the city council and the city employees, including regular updates to the council from the city manager and human resources. One issue that the mayor brought up was that he said that he was hearing about a lot of these issues for the first time. Other employees said that they'd been dealing with some of these problems since December, and we can go back and forth to the different situations about when each thing was brought to the attention of the mayor, and when the mayor may have apologized to the marketing and communications department and all of that. But it is obviously in everybody's interest where if a city employee has a genuine concern about the behavior of any elected official, that they're able to address that and bring that to the attention of the appropriate people in a timely manner, and that you as the elected officials have the opportunity to review that and to deal with it. It's not good. You can tell by the tension in this room, it's not good for these things to fester for so long. So we need to have some sort of way to have communication back and forth that is going to have protections for people who might be afraid of bringing forward their complaints, but yet also allows the city council to be informed and so that you can continue with your policymaking role that you have. I also understand, from my conversations with Mayor Norris that he would be willing to go to a purely policy role and then allow the city employees and the city manager to have say in their operational role. So there is a very clear distinction between policy and operational issues. We just need to make sure that there is a manner, some sort of mechanism, so that these issues can be timely discussed back and forth to ensure that everybody is fulfilling their obligations. So those are the basic recommendations. I'm happy to go into more detail if you have specific questions.
So in your independent assessment of all the things that have been alleged and occurred, do you believe that the mayor unilaterally attempted to obtain the resignations of the acting city manager and chief of staff?
I believe he unilaterally asked for the resignations.
Okay. Do you believe that the mayor used inappropriate and profane comments directed towards female staff?
Yes.
Do you believe that the mayor made demeaning comments directed towards the communication and marketing department?
Yes.
Do you believe the mayor committed discrimination by age?
No.
Okay.
Would you like me to explain?
Yes.
So the mayor spoke to the HR manager, but he was not actually making a recommendation that nobody be terminated, or that in the city never actually implemented a discriminatory policy that would have excluded older people from applying. If that had occurred, then the city would be facing liability. So it's a situation where, thanks to the HR manager, that issue was nipped in the bud as soon as the mayor addressed it. But he did make a comment that the city should not be hiring older people. And if that comment were ever acted upon, that would be discrimination.
Thank you for that. Do you believe the mayor used profanity as a way of verbal intimidation?
I believe the mayor regularly uses profanity. I believe that many city employees feel intimidated by that. I think there are occasions where the mayor may be using it as a means to intimidate other people. I think there are also situations where there's either a generational gap or cultural differences where, sometimes profanity is used regularly between employees. I'm also military, and it's certainly not uncommon in certain environments to use profanity. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's intimidation. But I think we also know that there are conversations where a lot of profanity is used, and it absolutely is intended as intimidation. So I obviously wasn't present when any of these conversations actually occurred, so I can't give you the full context of what was said, but obviously there are plenty of statements in here where employees reported that profanity was used at them and they felt intimidated.
Okay. And the last question I have for right now is, do you believe that the mayor violated the charter?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Adam, hold it down out there. Adam, was it appropriate for the city council to vote for censure and no confidence before you presented this?
I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not here to advise the city council on anything other than this
Okay,
report. I
thank
didn't
you.
watch that. I haven't even seen what the resolution was.
Okay.
So I'm not comfortable commenting on something I haven't seen or observed.
All right, thank you, sir. For the record, please explain how Councilman Gambaro came to know about these incidents and accusations borne by the city manager.
I have no idea. This is the first time I've ever seen or talked with Councilman Gambaro.
You didn't get any statement from Councilman Gambaro?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did the city manager tell you how Councilman Gambaro came to know about these?
I don't think so.
Did she say who she reported it to, who she talked to?
No.
So how was it brought? And how does that work as being a conduit? Because as far as I'm concerned, since I've been in office, I was told, well, we can't talk about items discussed with you with other council members and, and working in a silo. So can you explain that to the council and to the residents?
I cannot, because I have no idea how these allegations first came out.
Okay. The same question would apply to the vice mayor and the Councilman Miller.
I can answer your question. Did you want to ask me the same question
Well, it was
you
the
asked
same
Councilman
question.
Gambaro?
It was the same question for you and the other
Okay.
Councilman Miller.
City manager told me that you pulled her into the office, told her that there would be a one-way conversation on which you asked for Mr. Duffy to be on the phone, and that you said that you had lost all confidence in her and Mr. DeLorenzo and demanded their resignations to be handed in immediately. To answer your question regarding that being a possible sunshine violation, which is what I think you're getting at, sunshine, you can't be a conduit for things that are on the agenda or are foreseeably on the agenda to be discussed. So her letting me know is not a violation of sunshine because it's not something that we anticipate voting on, that's on an agenda or anything of that nature. That's not a violation of sunshine. And Mr. Brandon can correct me if I'm wrong, but the sunshine law is specifically to prevent us from speaking to each other or from using a conduit. Anybody, a resident even, if you go to a resident and say, hey, I really want Mr. Huff to be appointed, and I'm not saying you did this, so please don't, I'm just using an example. I want Mr. Huff to be appointed as city manager. Could you go and tell all the other council members that that's who my guy is? And then that person comes to all of us and says, hey, mayor wants Mr. Huff. You guys should vote that. That's a violation of sunshine conduit. Her telling us that this is what the mayor has done is not a violation of sunshine. Not in my opinion, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Vice Mayor, I provided a copy of my notes. Was there a demand in there? Did you read my notes?
Well, I wasn't in the room, and I don't know if you went by your notes, but it said that you requested their resignation. I did read that.
There you go. So I didn't demand their resignation, correct?
I wasn't there, Mayor.
I'm just
just telling
saying,
you,
but
you
my
asked a
notes-
very specific
Yeah,
question
my
about
notes
how
say the
I
same.
found out, and I'm telling you how I found out.
Okay, I just want to clarify, because you said I demanded. I just want to make sure that's clear. Okay, did you, Mr. Brandon, look at the possibility of violations of sunshine laws during your investigation?
No, I did not.
You did not? Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Let the rest of the council. You got anything, Mr. Miller? Councilman Miller?
I'm digesting. Could you please, and thank you for being here, can you please just go over kind of a summary of your findings
already done that.
Certainly. So,
Well, we got specific answers, so, I mean, we have a,
would you like me to go into the termination discussion, or do you want me to go into some of the other discussions?
yeah, so at one point, you kind of go through what your findings were, based on all the statements, what you kind of termed as them being in line, right? Multiple statements kind of saying the same thing, including the mayor's. I think that's important to kind of go through and talk about what the findings were based on every statement, including the mayor's.
Okay, so everyone who was present at that conversation told me that on Sunday evening, the mayor had texted the acting city manager and had said that there needed to be a meeting the next morning and that the city attorney would be present. I believe he also texted the chief of staff. They came into that meeting. The mayor then read from what people call a script, and the acting city manager and chief of staff both took that as a demand for terminations. The mayor has phrased it more of as a request, but the mayor did provide me with a copy of the text, which I believe was a script that he read from, and that's attached to the report. I believe it's exhibit or enclosure 14. So that text says, "I have lost confidence in both of you as senior staff employees of the city, and I, as a singular member of the council, I request your immediate resignation, and I will be conveyed my sentiments to the rest of the council during the next workshop on Tuesday. The good news is there's other senior members of the staff as well that I would also request their resignation, but we are in the middle of a hiring process for a new CM, assume that's city manager, and they are for the most part needed personnel to keep the city functioning." That was what the actual text was. The question in my mind is not whether this was a demand or a request, but whether under the charter this constituted interference. I don't see how you can take one council member asking for two key employees to resign as anything other than interference. Now, I will say there are other statements that you will see in the report that say that the mayor was trying to fire at least the chief of staff since shortly after he was elected. And then there's other statements that say at some point the mayor was telling people that he lost confidence in the acting city manager and was seeking her resignation as well. So there are a lot of statements in here saying that this was part of a long-term plan. I believe the mayor denied that part of it, but there is no dispute, no question that the mayor requested the resignation of these two city employees in this meeting. The city attorney heard that. He had not been informed about what the contents would be before. He was concerned about the statements, one, because no individual council member, including the mayor, has the right to request the resignations of individual employees. That has to be done collectively. And then two, the chief of staff is not someone who can ever be terminated by a vote of the full city council. So his involvement was problematic. So that's the situation that resulted in the text.
And so that determination is what leads you to say that you believe the mayor violated the city charter.
He interfered with the city employees, and that was him involving himself in an operational personnel decision that no city council member, including the mayor, has a right to make.
You got anything, Vice Mayor?
I do. I have a few questions. My first question is, I think you might have touched on this a little bit, but the folks whose statements you provided, how were those people chosen to give statements in this report?
So as I mentioned before, there are the four individuals who were part of the actual conversation. I think that was the March 9th conversation. So I knew I was going to talk to them from the beginning. And then the city attorney, I believe, gave me the name of the HR manager and said that I should talk with her. So that's where I began. And then when I talked to every single witness, I also said, hey, if there's anybody else out there who wants to provide a statement, you have my number, you have my email, like have them reach out to me. Some of them reached out to me, and I followed up with everybody who said that they wanted to provide a statement. And then at some point, I received from the city attorney's office information that Mr. Danko and 2 others wanted to speak as well. So I called them and took their statements. So everything is provided, and I should also say that even though these statements are not sworn, I emailed everyone who I took a statement from back with a copy of, like, hey, this is my summary. Is this accurate? And is there anything that you want to change? Because we want to make sure that that I'm accurately reflecting what you said. Everyone, including the mayor, emailed me back and said, here's some revisions, or this statement is an accurate summary. And I used the versions that they sent me back so that I could confirm that they were comfortable with these statements and it wasn't just me as the investigator putting my own spin on something.
Was there anybody that reached out to you to give a statement whose statement you did not take?
No.
As far as the folks who are not employed by the city, so we have a statement from Mr. Jeff Douglas and a statement from Mr. Paul Rice. How is it that they became involved in this investigation?
Those are the 2 who had reached out to the city attorney and said that they may have some information. I don't know how they found out about the investigation, but they reached out. And so then once I got their numbers, I contacted them.
Did you ask them, or did they say at all how it is they found out about this?
I didn't ask them that. I believe that this is very public down here, so I don't think there's anything that's been a secret about it, but I didn't ask them specifically if someone had told them to reach out or anything like that.
Was the mayor given the opportunity to have anybody else provide statements?
Yes.
Did he
No.
suggest anybody?
I don't recall being asked that, Adam, seriously. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. No,
We had that discussion.
We may have, I just don't recall.
I don't have any other questions regarding the report at this time.
Okay, Mr. Brandon. Did the HR director tell you why she didn't come to me with the complaints?
No.
You didn't say why? Did she say?
And to be clear, I don't know if she did or did not come to you with the complaints.
Oh, well, that's quite obvious.
She said that she had received complaints.
Okay. But she didn't, did she say that she took them to the city manager?
She didn't tell me what she did with them. I just understood from others when I talked to them that at some point those complaints were requested in a public records request, and then they were public without the knowledge of the individuals who had submitted those complaints in advance. And
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out why, if someone has a complaint with a new mayor, that it wouldn't be brought to his attention, especially when the mayor has a master's degree in human resources and has served as an admin officer, why a human resources manager or city manager wouldn't bring complaints to the mayor as soon as they happen. I'm just trying to.
Would you like to ask Ms. Fuller?
I'm just trying, well, you guys said I can't ask Ms. Fuller.
No, we
the
wanted to
question.
hear the report first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Fuller, can you get a microphone?
Absolutely, Mayor. Renina Fuller, Director of Human Resources.
Okay, Ms. Fuller, if I can question you, which guess I was under the impression I couldn't ask you, can you briefly describe your qualifications as the city's human resources director?
My qualifications, sir? I have a degree from Flagler College in public administration, and then I have a master's degree in administration.
Okay, and you're SHRM certified, right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, and you're aware that I have a human resources degree also?
I've heard you mention that, sir.
Okay. When you received these complaints, why didn't you bring them to me directly or to the city manager?
Sir, I followed the chain of command. I don't report. I report to Lauren, and so I sent the information to Mr. Duffy, and I believe I copied Ms. Johnston. I can't swear to that.
So you had a human resources complaint, and you said you took them to the city manager, and did the city manager ever give you a disposition that she came to me with a complaint?
No, sir.
Mr. Duffy?
Asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you. Did you receive those complaints in a timely manner and you brought them to my attention?
I did receive them, and if you wanted to have the full background, is that we discussed that with certain complaints, and when we reached out to the person that made the complaints, they did not want it to go any further. So they did not want to bother you with it. They were more of, they filed it, and then they said, hey, I don't want to file it anymore. And so at that time, we decided.
Hold it down, please.
At that time, it was then the recommendation not to bring it up to you.
Stop, please, stop. And Ms. Fuller, you are aware that I have an open door policy?
Yes, sir.
And my question would be, were you trying to stack charges against me?
Absolutely not, sir.
Okay,
I
city
did
manager.
not solicit.
City manager, you and I, we had a conversation, and when the marketing and communications department had a complaint about the Christmas parade, and can you explain how that kind of happened? And when you told me about it, I told you to bring the guys in here and let's talk about it. Can you briefly describe that? And do you feel that I was trying to do the right thing and be apologetic when it was warranted?
Sure, I can give some context to the conversation. I believe I was in a meeting at the time whenever the incident took place. After my meeting ended, I was walking in the hallway, and Ms. Kershaw brought to my attention that you were walking in the hallway and saw the communications team meeting in one of the conference rooms, and you opened the door and started making accusations of, would you like me to finish?
No, we don't have to have the complete explanation. Hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down.
I don't think we need to cherry pick
What
we're going to hear and not hear, Mayor.
We have the statements of what was said. I just want to know, when Ms. Kershaw came to you and you came in to me, I brought the whole team in and said, I'm sorry if I upset everyone, right? I did say that?
I don't recall hearing you say you were sorry, but I do remember you saying you apologize and that you were just picking. And I explained to you that one of the members of our staff, this was her very first day, and so having this type of environment on your first day wasn't very welcoming to the city and the culture that we were trying to build. So, you did address it with the communications team, but, you coming into the conference room and interrupting their already meeting wasn't warranted. They did not invite you into the meeting. They didn't understand why you were there and giving your opinion as you were walking by through the hallways.
Trying to think of his name. Okay. When Ms. Kershaw's complaint about the toenail polish, the infamous toenail polish, did you bring that to my attention?
I discussed with Mr. Duffy how to handle the situation because we had not had very many interactions with you, Mayor. You were just becoming elected. I tried to do a one-on-one with you and Mr. Duffy to welcome you and go through things. You asked for 3 things from me in that meeting. I was there for about 5 minutes, and so it was difficult to try and, go through some of these things with you. So I brought it to Marcus's attention, and Marcus told me that he talked to you about, I'm sorry, Marcus, military, I'm not familiar with that terminology, but
Recall roster.
that and just, acting how military officers act and in that nature.
So at the time, you didn't feel it warranted bringing to my attention to say, hey, sir, I know you're military, but just chill out, because I am the kind of person that if you have an issue with me, I would prefer you bring it to me. And I think when I gave the my initial introduction, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Fuller, didn't I say I have an open door policy? If you have any issues with me, please bring it to my attention.
Absolutely, sir.
So do you think I was welcoming and I was being genuine in that?
I don't know your intent. I just know that you said that you had an open door policy, and we had a good conversation.
Okay, thank you. All right. And just for the record, I think a lot of these complaints are centered around a conversation that I had with another constitutional officer within the county. City Manager, do you recall a conversation that you and I had regarding a constitutional officer in the county and employees that came over from that agency? And I told you, please keep this confidential and it stays in this room.
Yes, Mayor, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yes, Mayor.
And that conversation happened between, I think, 17 and 21 November. Can you explain to me why that constitutional officer called me to reference that conversation?
I saw the mayor, I saw the constitutional officer at a community forum, and I asked him if this was true, that he had made those comments, because I have a great relationship with him, and I couldn't believe that he could talk about his staff or our staff that way. And he informed me that he never made those comments, and that they were his staff, and he supported them.
So do you feel that you breached the mayor and the city manager's trust when you violated that ask of confidentiality?
Yes, Mayor, I can certainly understand why you were upset with me, and I said I'm sorry, and I understood.
Okay. And at the time, what did I tell you about that?
That I should never do that again.
What actions I would have taken if we were in a strong mayoral system?
Can't recall that, Mayor.
We're talking about the sheriff in that situation, correct? Sheriff Staley?
Well, I was trying to keep the sheriff's name out of it, but that's...
Well, I'm pulling that from the report. It's in the report. So it's the same incident? Okay.
Okay. Any further questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I think the report speaks for itself.
Mr. Mayor, Dave Sullivan, I thought I had just a couple of comments.
Go right ahead, Councilman.
Right. Coming into this at the end of the line, obviously. The previous meeting, somebody said something about the report wasn't available, but when we voted for no confidence at the last meeting, we all had access to the report, and that's what I have to base my judgments on, because I have not been here previously. So to Adam Brandon, I like to get to the bottom of things. I read the report, but I think your paragraph 6, your conclusion, kind of summarizes exactly what you feel in general terms as to what is going on here. So I would like you to actually read the short paragraph 6, your conclusion in your investigation.
My conclusion is these findings reveal a pattern of inappropriate conduct and unprofessional behavior by Mayor Mike Norris that undermines the city's council-manager form of government and creates a hostile work environment for city employees. Mayor Norris further exceeded the powers under the city charter by seeking the resignations of the acting city manager and chief of staff. Further independent investigation and corrective action may be warranted to address these issues and restore integrity and morale.
And my point in reading that is, that's what I have to go on. The reports, what I've heard at the podium. And so just to make sure everybody understands, that's what I am basing my decisions on. And just want to make that clear.
Is that it, Councilman?
That's it.
And you stated, did you state, I haven't read all the way through that really because I couldn't stomach it. Did you say that the city charter doesn't define influence?
The city charter doesn't have a definition for interference, not influence, interference.
Interference.
So that's why I use the dictionary definition from Black's Law Dictionary.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
No, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion.
No, you don't get the motion right now, Councilman.
I move that this council, in addition to all the items that have already been...
Point of order, Councilman.
Let's go to the parliamentarian.
We have to go out for public comment.
Well, I'm going to make a motion so we can go out to public
Oh,
comment.
no, we don't need a motion. This is just a presentation.
I'm sorry, the question was if we had any other questions. Are we waiting on the public before we give comment up here, or are we giving comment, and I'm not talking about motions, but are we giving comment on the actual report and then going out to public comment? I'm just asking for clarity.
Well, we were just discussing it, right? And it was a presentation, we discussed it, and we typically put it out to the public for comment.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I didn't have any questions. I just, the major concerns for me that came out in this report are a couple comments. One, a comment made to our economic development director that I'm going to choke you out. That's a problem. And the multiple instances of I'm going to fire your ass to multiple employees. And the other one that, there were separate statements that corroborate you telling our communications department that the presentation was horseshit, the Christmas parade, and yelling and screaming. And Mayor, look, I've got a raw sense of humor too. I mean, there is definitely a hat you have to put on when you sit in that seat, when we sit in these seats, and when we have to conduct ourselves probably in a very different manner than we would our friends, or even in our other jobs. As a lawyer, there's sometimes when things get very high-strung. Those are my concerns with this, aside from the charter. The charter violation is, in my mind, something that obviously needs to be addressed. But I'm sorry. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there, and you have every right to pick your guy and to support him. But if this were Mayor Alfin, I want you to honestly ask yourselves. No.
Hold it down.
No.
Hold it down.
I get to speak about
Hold it down.
this. If it were Mayor Alfin that made these same comments, and it were not Mayor Norris, if it were somebody completely different, and they made the same comments, would you be supporting the behavior? If it were your son or your daughter that were receiving the comments, would you be supporting the behavior? Here's the thing about...
This is not a Q&A. Stop.
Here's the thing. The pendulum always swings back to the other side. So I'm asking people to think about if the shoe were on the other foot, if it were somebody else in this seat that you didn't agree with, that you didn't like, but they were conducting themselves with the same type of behavior, would you be condoning it in the same way? If your answer is yes, then your answer is yes. But I think everybody has to honestly ask themselves that question. And that is the question I've asked myself. Because, Mayor, I have been a supporter of yours. I need your votes, to be quite frank with you. I do. You and I vote aligned on a lot of things, most things. But I can't condone this type of behavior. It doesn't matter if I need your votes. It doesn't matter if you're my guy. It's the behavior. It's not you. It's the behavior. And I understand, too, a desire to come in, want to weed out any type of corruption that you see. The thing that you brought up today, if that's occurring, we need to figure it out and nip it in the bud. That cannot happen in this city. But there's a way to do it. There's a correct way to go about doing these things. And the concern is that if actions are being taken unilaterally outside of the system under which we are supposed to work, when somebody with malintent is sitting in that seat, like a lot of people out here thought David Alfin was, what if they were able to make those unilateral decisions? That's the problem.
Okay, I'd just like to say this, please. A lot of people know my personality, and I'm a candid person. And I know how to, and you may not like my sense of humor or my joking around, but it's my personality. And I have never, ever in my career, ever, 24 years active duty, had an HR complaint against me. And I am a very kind and passionate person, and I try to do the right thing all the time. And when I offend someone, and I'll apologize. But when you have people that do pretty much a public lynching of me, after I received the votes I did and the support I received in this community, and for someone to sit on this dais and call me a coward, I have 2 Bronze Stars.
So do I.
Nobody asked you, Councilman.
I'm just saying.
Come to order. Come to order. I have personally been credited with killing over 75 terrorists. Personally credited with. And I'm a passionate human being. My team rescued 26 malnourished children, special needs children in Iraq. We set the standard for humanity in Iraq when I was on that tour duty. And I have served as an HR director. I have served in an organization of over 300 people, civilian employees and military personnel. I have never, ever been treated like this. And I would never treat anyone on this dais like this. And I know some people on this dais actually campaign against me. We have Republicans in the Republican Executive Committee that sat on this dais that campaigned against me. You got a former city council member that wrote the script for my opponent to attack me on the radio. It's not my fault. It's not my damn fault that you didn't get your way. But I am here to represent the people. I was out this morning talking to issues about flooding down on the south end because our staff is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They haven't been. We're about to be in $500 million of debt. And we have our chief of staff stand up here at this podium after I finally badgered him into telling me that even with the $500 million investment, we are not going to have the water capacity, wastewater capacity, to sustain us with an additional 19,000 houses that are in the queue. How did we get to this point that we racked up houses in the queue that we can't support, and we will not have that support in the future? So if I've offended anybody in this city, in this organization, I'm sorry. I am. But you should be able to come, you should come to the mayor with an open door policy and say, sir, I'm sorry I was offended by that. And I have apologized to so many people in my career because it warranted. I apologize to my kids. How many parents apologize to their kids? So that's the person I am, and I certainly did not demand anyone's resignation. I did not demand it. I didn't tell Lauren Johnson, if you don't fire this person, I'm going to fire you. I never did that. I never did. Miss Lauren Johnson knew my sentiment on the chief of staff before I was ever elected. Chief of staff has been with this city for how many years? Elected official. Now works in the city as a chief of staff. That enabled to developers to stack up 19,000 additional houses that we can't support after we make $500 million investment. That's how it is. I have developers, landowners offering a pro quo to let them pass through that comprehensive plan.
Sorry.
I'm not finished.
Sorry.
Pass through that comprehensive plan without changing anything. And it would not have been changed. We would not have kept those DRIs if I hadn't have done it, if I hadn't have brought it up. The same thing with compromising on the amount of money we were investing. Something that you said, Vice Mayor, that you lost your power. Your vote didn't count. But I reconsidered, and we fixed it. We changed it. We made compromise. So I would like to open this up for public comment. If you want to make a motion.
I do want to make a motion, Mr.
I need
Mayor.
to respond, Mayor. I need to respond because there were multiple misrepresentations. And we're getting totally off base here. But for you to sit here and say First of all, if a developer offered you a quid pro quo and you didn't bring it to this council immediately, that's a problem. So I hear what you're saying about, oh, well, these employees should have come to me, I have an open door policy. You need to come to us. We're the policy makers up here. We are supposed to be a team making policy for the city. And those types of things need to be brought to the dais to discuss.
Well, we'll talk about those on Tuesday.
I am very thrilled that now they're before us, but the point remains, these are the types of things that need to come to this dais. Now, with regards to the DRI, respectfully, Mayor, I brought that up before you even had that seat. And the comp plan was sent through with the current DRIs because I wouldn't allow prior city council to send it through without them. Okay, and the utility, you are going to vote for the full utility rate increase. So please stop lying. That is part of the problem in this report. You can get upset if you want. You can get upset if you want. I'm done. You know the truth.
Are you done? All right.
Mr. Mayor, I move that this, in addition to the actions that this council has already taken, that this council immediately send a letter to Governor DeSantis requesting your removal from office for malfeasance. I ask this letter to include the signature blocks of those on this council that choose to vote in favor of this motion.
Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry. We got it. Is there a second to that motion? Anyone going to second that motion? No one's willing to second that motion. Thank you very much. The motion dies for lack of second. We're going to
Hold on a second. I'm unmuted. Stay Sullivan. I will second the motion for discussion.
Shame on him.
Any further discussion from the dais?
I can't support a motion to send a letter to the governor to ask him to remove a duly elected official. I do support sending it to the Ethics Commission because I think that is the proper chain of command and thing to do and to allow them to make a decision. But without sending it to the Ethics Commission and allowing them to do their investigation. And by the way, I think that all of these statements should be attested to under oath. I think that we should go back to every single one of these folks, see if they're willing to sign an oath statement and affix them, because I think that's really important. But I'm not willing to ask the governor to remove a duly elected official at this time.
Any further discussion from the council?
Yes, Dave Sullivan. I still feel, as I did at the previous meeting, that the next step is to the ethics, state ethics board, and probably it does not make sense right now to go direct to the governor, although I'm sure there's strong feelings on both sides on that. I kind of agree with our vice mayor that we're not there yet without first going to the, as recommended by our council, first recommendation, as I remember, I'm just looking in the board, it's pretty straightforward. Refer for further legal review. The city council may refer the matter to the Florida Commission on Ethics.
Okay, Commissioner Sullivan, thank you. Any further discussion from the dais? I'm going to open this up to public comment, but listen to me, everyone. Listen to me. Please be respectful and be respectful to both the council and the community as a whole, and no defamatory comments. Yes, Mr. Perry Matrano.
Perry Matrano, resident here, 20 years.
Pull it up a little bit, Perry. Pull the mic up a little.
How's that? Okay. I just want to say that this is very difficult to watch, very difficult to be a part of. As a resident, the long time that I've been here, I've watched many mayors act mayoral. This is a little disappointing, knowing your character. I know you long enough now, being the chairman of the party here. I know the way you are, but we do need to get back to business. We need to be more mayoral. We need to respect the current city manager for the job that she's been asked to do, by the way, okay? And I don't even know how you sit there, and I applaud you. The rest of the city council, You all may have your opinions, and I get it. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is it's all about the city business. Conservative values, good budgeting, and direction. If you're going to be infighting on this whole thing all the time, sadly, people will not invest here. People will go elsewhere. And if they do invest here, they will work their way around you. And that's the way it goes, because that's the way business goes. So we don't need to go there. We can invite people, we could bring people, and we can get this job done. The biggest thing is finding a city manager who has been a city manager, who can be a city manager for the rest of the good staff that might be in this building. If you have one or two bad apples, that person will weed them out. So I ask you, please, send it to the ethics board. Let the ethics board take its chances. You will take your chance at that point. And if anything happens beyond that, you'll take your licks like you are as a good soldier. But other than that, please start getting us back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Just quickly, first, to answer your question, if it was Alphen, no, I wouldn't support him, because I know there's a difference between his heart's for the city and the people, just like I believe yours is too. His heart's for the city and people. I didn't see that coming from Alphen. He's created this a more community environment, even coming here to speak. He recognizes the people's names and everything and listens intently. I didn't see that from Alphen, to be fair. And if it was my child working for the city who was overpaid and underqualified, I'd be ashamed, because that's just downright theft to do that, to take a check that you do not deserve. So if it was flipped, I would still feel the same way I do now. So I don't normally write out my stuff, but I'm so angry I had to. I can't believe we're here today discussing an investigation that should never have taken place. This has been a shameful waste of time, money, and public resources. And now the city may be exposed to liabilities. For someone who has a background in risk analysis, you sure didn't think this one through. Also, seems we've had these problems ever since. Amanda Reese's letter said that she was admonished for her tone with Pontieri. No about you, but somebody was trying to use that over her head. Danko made negative comments constantly about the communications department. When leadership violates trust, fails to remain neutral, and participates in gossip, we have deeper problems than anyone wants to admit. Is any wonder we struggle to maintain our infrastructure, plan for growth, or attract meaningful business investment? That is what truly creates a hostile environment. When a communications director misrepresents a comment made in jest and escalates it instead of clarifying it, that creates a hostile environment. When a city council member follows a candidate's wife into her driveway and berates her for not answering the door because he assumed she was home from overhearing voices, that creates a hostile environment. This whole petty spectacle initiated by an unelected council member is what's breeding toxicity in our government and spilling into our community. If every trivial complaint requires hiring attorneys and launching investigations, then we are wasting taxpayer dollars to feed egos. Let's be clear, it's not the duly elected mayor who's creating this hostile environment. It is the entrenched powers within the city government, past and present. That's what we elected him to do, was to clean house. Their failures are long and damaging. Failing to plan for utility and road expansion, failing to attract well-paying jobs, failing to manage basic projects. Just look at the splash pad. They scapegoat former employees and villainize developers while playing both sides against the middle. One can only imagine it's for self-serving interests. Follow the money. Open your eyes, Palm Coast.
Thank you, ma'am.
This division between residents and developers was manufactured. If our roads, swales, and water quality were properly maintained, if our economy offered real opportunity, residents would not only welcome responsible development, we'd be begging for it. Developers and citizens alike should stand together and demand better. Demand accountability, because government works for us,
not the other way around.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Miss Kathy.
Kathy Ostriano, you could be nicer. Please be nicer. Ty, congratulations on all your votes. Nobody's happier for you today than me. Just a few things. Marcus, I sent you 2 emails asking the legalities of the vote that was taken prior, and you've not responded. Is this the result of that email, this ratification? Okay, he'll get back to me, I guess. Okay.
We'll follow up, Kathy, after the comments.
Okay. And then just two more things. And this package, which I'm not going to get into, was presented to the Flagler County Commission in December 2nd, 2019. At that time, Dave Sullivan was the chair of that committee. This package is full of proof when we had a particular commissioner running around town being kind of naughty and rather verbally abusive to our residents, specifically to our Democrat neighbors and friends. I presented it at a meeting requesting censure, and Dave was okay with the terrible things that were going on. But this he needs to escalate. I'm just baffled by that. And the last thing is, so much talk about liability, but you know you're in an open lawsuit right now, a whistleblower lawsuit, where the vice mayor is specifically quoted by Ms. Fuller as being sort of the catalyst in a decision to escalate no, it's actually in there. Let me say, allegedly. And everybody in this lawsuit is in his investigation. It's weird, right? It's just strange. And so I'm wondering, will Adam be investigating this too? Because it involves one of our council people. It involves all the people that were a part of this particular situation. So, or do we need to get a different law firm? But I think that needs to happen, in all fairness. Thanks. Keep it toxic.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Georgianne Miller. I live in the R section. First of all, I think it's really, really horrible that we are all sitting here listening to a bunch of you that can't play in the sandbox well. Obviously, we had complaints against the mayor that went to HR. She said she took it up the chain of command, and it fell apart. None of this should have gone anywhere. We already had one time where he said something or did something that you felt wasn't appropriate, and he apologized. If we need to redirect his military directives or how he's managed people in the past, then we should do that. Also, why is it that he didn't know that he wasn't managing the city people or your personnel? That should have been brought up to him with HR long before any of this crap happened. He should have been told, you're managing this, you're not managing the city manager's job. Granted, I understand your frustration. In the 6 months I've lived here, I've had somebody call the water department and turn off my water. They weren't me. I had to call and say, why did you turn off my water? And they said, yeah, you called yesterday. Processes and procedures in this city are non-existent. And if we had proper processes and procedures for our departments, who are lovely people, you work with great people. The people that work in Palm Coast are very helpful. They're always lovely to deal with. They're never nasty. They need guidance. They need processes and procedures. If our charter failed to put together what we should do in this situation, let's address that. If our HR department saw that they did nothing, wouldn't her next response be, oh, well, if you didn't do something, should I go see the city mayor? Should I talk to the city manager, the mayor? Should I talk to a council member? Why did she just let it drop and not do anything? We shouldn't be here you're wasting our money with attorneys and with all of this stuff when all you need to do is play nice in the sandbox. Mayor Norris, I voted for you. I think you're a great mayor. But if we're having difficulties communicating with different departments or with people, let's address that issue. We don't need attorneys to tell us to address that issue. Let's address that issue. If we've got a problem with communications between the city manager and you, sit down and let's get through that. We don't need attorneys and wasting the city's money that we are so desperately low on from the past fraud and abuse that we had in this city. Please, let's get rid of this whole thing. Somebody say, let's just drop the whole thing. Let's start from ground zero. Let's go back to HR, who didn't follow up with the initial complaint, and let's start all over. And let's drop this ethics and drop all of it and just start over. Stop wasting our money.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. McDonald.
First comment I wanted to make is something that just came up. This motion that we just saw. So what we're seeing here is the two unelected members of this council just made a motion to remove the elected mayor. Where are we living? We living in a communist country or something? What the heck is going on? Okay, military guys are thinking about this? I can't even begin to even fathom how this thinking even gets into this room. It's completely bizarre. So let's talk about the Lawson report here that I've read quite a bit of. And the first thing I want to comment on this is very simply this. I had a conversation with Ray Stevens. Ray Stevens is a detective lieutenant out of New York City, a DEA guy, okay? And he's the only guy who's ever sat in a seat up here who had an FBI ring, right? So here's the bottom line of what Ray says. He goes, I told him that this attorney was very well respected from what I read online. He was a super attorney back in 2017. And so Ray's comment is, what happened? This wouldn't even get off a detective's desk. So what I want to discuss here is this, is that what you put forward as a agreement to have somebody, have this fellow look into, okay, and came up with here are two entirely different things. This says, investigation into allegations of violations of the Palm Coast City Charter, interference with city employees, and other possible conduct of Mayor Mike Norris, excuse me. Okay, all right, so I don't know about this other stuff, but let's just talk about what's in the charter. What does the charter say? One thing that I can find that's of reference, non-interference, okay, and one of the things the only thing it says here are that members here are expressly prohibited from interfering with the performance of the duties of the city employee. So I want to ask Mr. Brandon, where was an employee interfered with in his duties, okay, in working for the city of Palm Coast? Are we talking about feelings here? Are we talking about the snowflake factory that we've got running down here? What is going on? We're supposed to be running a city. We've got all kinds of money problems, okay? We can't hire a city manager. I watched this guy 2 days ago switch seats and say, yeah, okay, I'll go with him. And then he said he'd switch over here just to get it done. But you guys couldn't get it done. It's just amazing to me what's going on. And you can't even read what's in print, what you guys wrote, okay, and what you asked this gentleman to do and what he did. As Ray Stevens said, the guy with the FBI ring, okay, this would not have gotten off a detective's desk. It's garbage, is what he said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Miss Jeannie.
Hello. I have never seen our attorney, city attorney, Marcus Duffy, be so active in a meeting before and actually acting like he knows what he's talking about. I'm so sorry. Councilwoman Pontieri, you invited us to call you and talk to you privately. I would say anything you have to say to any of us privately on the phone or in person is something you should be able to say to all of us. I do not respect that you are trying to put us in the dark personally and individually when you're acting like you want to, not acting like, let's take that back. You are insisting that we are in the light with everything about what's going on now, trying to line our mayor up to violate the Florida state statutes. It sounds like, it looks like a setup. I am really appalled, really appalled. And by the way, I filed a lawsuit. I put my own money against the council, the previous council, after Ed Danko asked me personally to head his lawsuit against you guys, against the referendum to remove provision 3E. Ed Danko asked me personally, would you do this? And it wouldn't be of cost to me. I didn't trust Ed Danko, so I filed my own. Of course, in the court system, I'm by myself, I don't have an attorney, and I got poo-pooed out of the courthouse, like, eh. However, Alan Lowe and Danko's, of course, I'm sure Danko and Alan Lowe were collaborating with each other against this. But who paid for Alan Lowe's lawsuit? Where'd it go with Ed Danko? That actually went to court. Everybody was there. It was a room full of attorneys that were being paid. By who? The city? I paid for my court papers against y'all. I paid for that. Who paid for the attorneys that was there for that? It was a room full of lawyers, but yet when I brought it to the courts, it was poo-pooed. It was insignificant. Where's the fairness in this world? Where's the fairness in our town? You guys have actually made me not trust our judicial system, our lawyers, our realtors, our developers. We've lost a lot of trust in all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Leslie Johnson, Palm
Yes, ma'am.
Coast. I warned you a while ago that you have inherited a lot of distrust from previous councils and some of the things that they've done. One of the questions that comes across in my mind is, in a court case, and you attorneys can tell me best, in what time or place is hearsay evidence allowed? What I'm seeing here is a he said, she said, and he admits he sent an email. He didn't talk to people. He sent an email. Did you say that? Yeah, I said that. Oh, then I believe it. Did you say that? Yeah, I said that. Well, then I believe it. Did you talk to them one-on-one? Did you have discussions? Thank you. You're nodding your head. You can't hear it, folks. He is nodding his head. He has talked to people one-on-one. But do we accept and allow allegations to define who we are, what we do? We have a gentleman up there today who's called the mayor a clown. We have a lady up there who's called the mayor a liar. We have another one who had some other disparaging things to say. And that wasn't just today. This was this other time, last week, okay? Is that proper behavior for a city council to disparage one another, whether you're together or not? What do you think that's doing to us? What do you think that's doing to the city? How do you think we feel watching that? Mom and Dad are fighting again, gosh darn it. Okay? You got to get it together. You got to grow some respect. Respect the seat. That's what I told you last week. Respect one another. And these allegations, you're guilty of it too. Should we remove all of you? Then what? What happens to this city? I want you to think about that. What happens to all of us who are sitting here dependent on what you folks do behind the scenes that we can't see? Hearsay? Much? Gossip? Much? Accepting allegations as verifiable fact? Much? I don't know. I wasn't there. The only ones who can say for sure are the ones that were there. I, for one, cannot accept allegations as fact. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Donna.
I'm short today. I don't have my heels on. Good afternoon. I'm going to start with the easy one. Ms. Pontieri, if she really wanted your position, she had the opportunity to run for mayor in February when the ballots had to be cast for mayor. So that would have been her decision at the time. I don't think that it's fair to target her at all today. The only reason why she's in the position she's in is because she's vice mayor, and that the chore is there, that if there's any kind of issue that had to be dealt with, that's the position she's in, and that's the way the charter is dealt with. So I think we just, as an audience, we need to be fair for that factor. Moving ahead, I will be open and say that, Mayor, I voted for you, and you know that, and you know how I feel about you. So I just want to say that in my corporate experience, my responsibility was to be global in my Fortune 100 company. And I had to adapt my behavior and my style for wherever I visited, whether it was in the United States or whether or not it was abroad. And I think that listening to you today, I'm just saying that military style worked well for you, and because there was a brethren, and there was a sense of trust, and there was a sense of respect. And I think that while perhaps cursing, or even your military brethren that came up here and said that that's just the way we speak, and I will tell you that, let me tell you at home, I really can let it out myself. So that's okay. But I cannot do that when I go to my 5 philanthropic women's clubs meetings. It just wouldn't gain in respect for my other women that are empowered within ourselves and the way we want to gain business and respect against my other women that are out there trying to gain business. So I think we have to fast adapt. And I think where we faltered here is that you had not gained respect within the Palm Coast City Council and within the Palm Coast City building here at large. So I think, and I do believe that you are a sincere person. I've met you, I've been with you, and I think you at your core, you are such a good person. But I think before you joke around and before you want to use colorful language, you have to have respect of the people first. And then it can become cocktail hour talk, and that may be suitable for after hours. But when it's in the workplace, it just can't be. And I think that's where sometimes we fall short. And so I think no matter what happens with the investigation, we have to all do better, because I want the moratorium, and I think 99% of Palm Coast wants it, because we have to fix our city that's gone awry. And let me take 1 minute about Mr. De Lorenzo. We can't hold him accountable. He also had higher people that he had to report to. So that man didn't individually put us in the water situation that we're in. And that's not fair for any of us to hold one person accountable. We all have a higher person we report to. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Donna. Yes, Ms. Candace Stevens.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you know I have some questions. I've had questions about this from the beginning, this investigation about into you, as far as chain of command and HR policy. So we'll start with chain of command. If I was sitting up there in that seat and you did some of the stuff that they said that you did, which I don't say that, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I think there's just different personalities at play. Since it would have been the mayor that done it, to me, that would have been the chain of command who I would have went to. But if you were the one doing it, the next person in command that I would have went to would have been the vice mayor. So I have a lot of questions because, Teresa, you know how much I trust you and how much you and I have worked together for almost 3 years now. And I'm going to be honest with you, your problem is right there. This man told me stuff up there at the dais the day I was running, and I came up here and spoke to everybody, and I spoke to him. He told me things and let me think things that he should have never done, and it was done on purpose. Before he came, you guys were sitting up there smiling, and you were doing it too. Everybody was happy. We were talking about what we were going to do, what we were going to stop, and some ways on how we were going to do it. You guys were laughing and smiling and joking around. I remember because I've been coming to these meetings so often. Even when you walked in the room, the air was different. But it's not anymore. And I'm sorry, it's you. How come everything against you, Mr. Mayor, is coming out of your mouth? You called him thinking it was David Alfin. You still haven't answered for that phone call, by the way. And where the hell is your placard that goes on your jacket that you normally wear? Nobody else has ever worn that besides David Alfin, Mr. Mayor. Your mole is right there. This is your problem. And a lot of us think that you are illegitimate. You should have never been appointed because of the timestamps of when the Hyder, all that stuff came out. He's not the problem. He's different than Alfin. They're used to being treated by somebody that has a manicure. This man don't have a manicure. Look at the evidence in front of you. I've looked at it. I see it. Everything can still work out here. There's your problem right there.
Yes, Gary.
Gary Kunis, C-section. She's right. You are the problem. You were put there by Danko and Alfin to do exactly what you're doing, create chaos. It was also noted in the paper recently that you already sent a letter to the governor asking for his renewal. But yet you sit there and say, oh, well, I didn't do that yet. Bullshit. You're full of it right up to your eye teeth. You should get the hell out of here. You don't belong there.
Okay, Gary.
And you talk about deception. The amendment. The two lawyers here try to put the deception on us so they get the $90 million for Alfin to build a stadium that we don't need. Okay? They didn't put all the information in there. When Danko asked you to read that, you were stumbling all over the stuff you removed to deliberately deceive us. Both of you should be disbarred. No question. For deception. You talk about deception. I knew 2 weeks before, through Alfin and Danko, that they were going to fire the last city manager. 2 weeks before. I should not have known that, but I did. They told me personally they were going to do it. So talk garbage about deception about Mike. That all started with smoking bullshit that started with the kids that claim the teacher failed them, and they call about the teacher, well, he did this and he did that. This is what this is all about. Period. 4 of you should be thrown the hell out of here.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Ms.
Sparks, C-section. I've been hearing all this stuff, and I really blame human resources for a lot of this. I've been in the workforce, and if somebody did something wrong, we took it to human resources, they addressed it, and they dealt with it, and it was over. What is this investigation doing with you, Mayor? It's him, Barrow, of course, Danko, Alfin, all them, my nose. Not trying to get out because they want control. I know all about this stuff. And it's sad. It saddens me. What about putting a hand on the Bible and swearing to, oh, you said my nail polish was too dark or something. I've had people talk about my nail polish. Sometimes I'm flashy and people say stuff. That's ridiculous to bring somebody up for that. You're going to be ashamed of yourself.
Connie, please address the
I'm sorry. So this is what I don't understand, how it got this far. If you have a human resource director that's supposed to do her job, and then it falls back on you, and all these people up here make these stupid allegations against you? I know you, Mike Norris. I haven't even known you that long, but when I met you, I campaigned for you. You know what? I'm a Christian. I'm a godly woman, and I could just tell. And I could just look at people and tell. Sorry, you're not one of them. We need to fight this. I'm going to fight this. If I have to pay for a lawyer out of my pocket, we're going to all chip in. Everybody that is for you. We are going to resolve this, and we're going to get rid of the people we need to get rid of, and turn this town around to a godly town, a Christian town, a town that we respect and look upon, and just have faith in God and put him first, not money and not greed and not this false allegations that you're throwing out at him.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Mack.
Marilyn Mack, the F section. I've been here 15 years. I just want to say, on a humorous note, because anybody that's worked in the government, and I worked in it for 26 years, all different levels, I already see what's going on. It's very obvious. It's as obvious as the nose on my face. It's total setup. Total. But what's hysterical about it, we can laugh about it now, they never follow any rules here. They break all the state laws on drainage and federal laws on drainage. Ethics? This isn't an ethics violation. So go ahead and send it, because it's not an ethics violation. Y'all don't even know what ethics means. And as far as him breaking the charter, supposedly, on the setup, do you know how many ways the city breaks their charter? So it's laughable. It's a joke. But you wasted our time and our money. I want to know how much this cost. I want to know how much that cost the taxpayers. So I do want to have that answered. Y'all are laughable. And you really, seriously, you need to go. You should be ashamed. You should just get up and walk out. Because we're going to get rid of you, one way or the other. You're done. And everybody knows about Di Lorenzo, and a lot of people know about what Holland did, and all the criminal activities she did, and you want to attack him? Are you kidding me? I support you 100%. God bless you, protect you. You're a brave man. I did vote for you. And we've got your back. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. For CD.
C.D. Rosell, I live in the K section. I was a police officer in Los Angeles in the 70s. I have stories. I came in here to talk about speed bumps.
Pull the mic up a little.
I came in here to talk about speed bumps originally. This has been the most interesting thing I have been into since I watched my chief get fired in the 70s. It's just amazing. But anyway, we need to resolve this. You need charm school. I'm not kidding. I need charm school, by the way. My wife tells me that all the time because she tells me, you're not in a black and white anymore. Anyway, we'll get it resolved. It may not be how you want it or how we want it, but we'll get it resolved, and I can go back to working on speed bumps, which I feel is more important right now about getting the city so it works through the problems that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, good afternoon. My name's Amy Listowski.
Yes, ma'am, Amy.
How are you? Geez, I don't know where to
Get
start.
close to the mic, Amy,
I don't
please.
know where to start. I will say that I did come to some city council meetings a few years ago. I don't enjoy this. I don't like coming up here, and I don't think many residents do. I stopped coming because during that Harborside thing, when they allowed the zoning change and the density change against what the old council and the old mayor, it just seemed like nobody cared about what the residents wanted. And it was very, very upsetting. I feel like that will eventually ruin our neighborhood completely. And I stopped coming because I thought, what we say here doesn't matter. And it was very upsetting at that time, to be honest. And I was actually approached by Mr. Danko. I tried to talk to him about his vote. He's a problem, and he is a problem online, and he was a problem actually the night that Mr. Gambaro was appointed, because if you recall, there was a violation of the charter that night. Now, I don't know the rules and the sunshine laws and everything like that, but I do know that it was me who sent the email because I didn't want to attend, that said to elect Mr. Gambaro because I thought he was a very honorable person, that he had served our country, and I usually give someone in that position an extra vote type of thing. I'm really disappointed in the way that he's acting towards the mayor, and I'm really disappointed that we're appointing people to be able to act like this. I voted for Mr. Norris. I met him when he started campaigning, actually at one of these council meetings, and I found him to be very honorable and to really care about the people of Palm Coast. And I think that's why he has supporters here. Now, in all due respect for the staff and the city council, I mean, everybody, they do deserve respect, and they shouldn't feel threatened in their job, and they shouldn't feel upset or afraid to go to HR. But this does seem like it's an HR issue, and that it shouldn't go to the point where it's a complaint and we're getting lawyers involved, and we have someone who's appointed trying to now take someone out and go to an ethics committee and go to the governor, my God. And it's just gone too far off the rails. I mean, somebody has come here and run for a position, and the people of Palm Coast have elected them. You need to let that person really have their chance to do what's best. And if there's conflicts within the staff and within the employees, then that's what we need to do, is address it there. And I hope that you will give the respect to the mayor who we elected that vote. And I will hope you will look back into how Mr. Gambaro got appointed during a sunshine violation. I think that needs to come back up because, as you can see, people that are appointed, what happened last Tuesday, I watched it late night. That was a circus of what was going on, how you not know what you're voting for, and this really looks bad for the city of Palm Coast. And I just hope that you guys will all, you're here to work for us, and I'm really sorry if there's people in the staff that were offended, but I think we can get over this in a cordial manner, and I hope we can.
Thank you, Amy. Yes, Mr. Davis.
Chairman Davis, P section. Council members, I'm here today to say what many residents are thinking, but may not have the platform to express. It's time for a change in leadership at the top of this city's administration. The acting city manager and the chief of staff have repeatedly shown that they are out of touch with the needs of the residents. Whether it's the lack of transparency, poor communication, or the constant failure to prioritize infrastructure over unchecked development, it's clear they are not serving in the public's best interest. Palm Coast deserves leadership that's proactive, engaged, and accountable to the people, not just title holders collecting paychecks while residents deal with flooding, traffic congestion, and a city that feels increasingly disconnected from its citizens. It's time for both the acting city manager and the chief of staff to step aside. Let someone lead who actually listens, communicates, and takes action for the benefit of everyone, not just developers, insiders, or political allies. We've tolerated enough mediocrity. We deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Mr. Webb.
Mark Webb, Palm Coast. What we are experiencing right now is an example of failure of our human relations department and services. I came in today to listen to how egregious, terrible, sad comments and things that sadly happen in many of our private and public employment areas. We have an attorney to lean on to assist. You guys agree to follow the attorney's guidelines. I worked for the Boeing company for 20 years, and as an executive manager, signed documents that said I agree to follow the directions of the HR director. Do you know why? Because it prevents this kind of manipulation and control and agenda building, the appearance of agenda building, so that when an individual has what is clearly an issue, something said, whether it's meant or not, they go to HR, they meet with trained individuals, and Mayor, you have a degree in this, and you know the value, as in the military, we know there needs to be that third group of people. And yet, what I heard today from your director was, I was informed of it, I did an investigation, I asked the harmed person, the victim, what actions they wanted. They didn't want to go any further. That means it's done. That means the process worked. That means that somebody says something, somebody does something. People, this happens every day in a workplace. You have a bad day. Maybe you had a hangover the night before, whatever. Your football team won, your basketball team won, and you say something and you offend someone else. But the process means you go to your HR, you have that conversation, HR does a deep dive, finds out what happens, presents that, makes a decision, apology maybe, reprimand, training. We've heard some great suggestions from this hired attorney as far as we have a bare bones charter that needs to be beefed up, but I heard it was done. I heard all parties were resolved, but it wasn't, because politically agenda-minded people sitting on this council grabbed it, went to the media, blew it out of proportion, and now here's where we are now. So it's kind of sad, and I hope we learn from his comments and become better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Anyone else with public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Any further discussion from the council members?
There's, no, sorry.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Putting aside all of the HR complaints, I think the heart of why this came up, it's the first thing that Councilman Gambaro brought up, was the charter violation. The charter violation needs to be discussed. Somebody cannot unilaterally make any decisions in this manner.
Hold it down, please.
If there are charter violations that one of us at any time, and somebody mentioned the sunshine violation, I brought that up because it doesn't matter who is doing it, it needs to be addressed. There are rules that need to be addressed, the rules that we have decided that we are going to follow as this governing body. I understand that people have a disagreement with regards to what could be inappropriate or appropriate in the workplace. I think the repeated behavior is inappropriate. But at the end of the day, it's, to me, the most egregious, or I guess the most prolific thing we need to discuss is the charter violation. And I know that there's a lot of sentiment out there that says that people who think, you know, the mayor messed up, maybe he shouldn't have done one, you know, I'll talk to you directly. Maybe he shouldn't have done one thing or the other. But in the investigation, it makes very clear that there were repeated efforts to fire individuals by you unilaterally, whether it was a city manager or people below her, and that you were repeatedly told not to do it. And it is that I take a very large issue with, because if it were any one of us at any time who operated that way, the system would fall apart. We can't do that. With regards to all of the other things that, you know, have been brought up as far as, you know, these things need to be taken care of. We've had these failures in the past and those failures in the past. I think all of us up here want to try to do what we can to make to steer the ship now in the right direction. And that includes you, Mayor. I do think that you want to do that, but we got to do it from here. So I can't just turn my eye to the charter violation. I can't just ignore it, because that's not the way our system works. I want to work with you to get good things done. We need to do it from this dais, and we need to do it pursuant to the rules that we're bound to.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Gambaro, you have anything? Councilman Sullivan?
Yeah, I've been listening. Just so you know, I have to turn the video off sometimes because I have to keep my head in a 90-degree position 45 minutes out of every hour because of the operation. So I've listened to every word. In any event, I think I've said what I can say based on the the information provided. I have to always go on the information provided and what I hear from my fellow councilmen and the mayor. So, no, there's nothing more I can add at this time.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, may I ask for consensus for one thing regarding the report? I would like the statements to be signed under oath before we've already motioned to have this sent to the Ethics Commission, but I think before we do that, we need to go back, if it's possible, Mr. Brandon, to those people who offered a statement to sign it under oath. Is that possible?
It's possible, if that's what you'd like.
I would like consensus from this group to have that done.
Okay, do we have consensus for that?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan?
Yes.
And as far as, did we come to a consensus about the Ed Danko ethics? Marcus, could you answer a question about Mr. Danko's, his ethics complaint? Did you read through it?
I have not looked at it yet. That's something I can advise you on Tuesday.
You haven't looked at Ed Danko's part of this investigation?
I have looked at what's been presented to Mr. Adam.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but what you brought up, and it seems like Ms. Pontieri had a concern with it, but that we haven't had a direction to go that route. I think you guys can still have that discussion. I think we still have a motion on the table. I don't want to go away from the motion first. And once we have that motion decided either way, then we could probably have that discussion.
Okay, if nothing else from the council, again, it's been a minute. Restate the motion.
So my motion was to send a letter to the governor asking for your removal.
Was that his motion?
It was. It was seconded by.
His motion. Call to vote, Ms. Cook. Restate the motion one more time. Council. I can't get over calling it.
I know.
Listen, Councilman Sullivan, please hold it down. Councilman Sullivan, please listen correctly, and if you don't mind, Ms. Cook, we will call his vote first, so there's no confusion. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and restate the motion.
In addition to the actions that this council has already taken, I move that this council immediately send a letter to Governor DeSantis requesting your removal from office for malfeasance. I ask that this letter include the signature blocks of those on the council that choose to vote in favor of this motion.
Call to vote.
Councilmember Sullivan?
No.
Vice Mayor Pontieri?
No.
Councilmember Gambaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
No.
Mayor Norris?
No.
The motion fails.
That's the end of that. We have anything further from the dais, because we need to get out of here. We only have about 20 minutes left slotted.
Is this final commentary?
Yes.
Final.
Final comments.
Okay.
Hold on, you have to go to public comments still for non-agenda items. You haven't done that yet.
Okay,
Final public commentary.
I have one more comment.
Yes, sir.
Don't we need to make some kind of motion if we're going to go forward with the letter to the ethics board? In other words, there is a draft that was presented to us today. So, and I know we're waiting till next Tuesday to finalize that. Any reason for us to make a motion either in favor of the draft as written at this point or not?
I haven't had a chance to look at the draft, so I'd feel more comfortable waiting until Tuesday.
I personally, I don't know how you got that draft. Was that sent out to all the council members? Because I certainly do not have it.
I got it via email from our lawyer.
Nope, it was not sent to you, Mayor. If you would like to be sent to you, I can do that.
So hold it down. So it was only sent to Councilman Sullivan?
No, it was sent to the other council members.
Have you seen it, Vice Mayor?
I haven't looked at it.
Hold it down, please. Have you received it, Councilman Miller?
I have an email in my inbox, Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
So it went out to the whole council except for the mayor?
They were the one that made the motion. They're the ones that are signing it, sir.
But I'm not, never mind.
If you want it sent to you, I can send it to you.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor?
Should be sent to you.
Yep.
So, and your suggestion, Vice Mayor, that we wait until Tuesday to deal with that?
I think that just to give us time to look at it and also ensure And yeah, I mean, I haven't read it, I just know that I have an email. And also to ensure we get those oaths done and affixed to the statements, I think it would be more appropriate at that time.
And we came to a consensus that Mr. Ed Danko's ethics
No,
complaint.
we need to look into that more too. I'm not comfortable. I just don't know. I don't know, Mayor. I don't know. You brought it up here. I'm not going to opine on a legal opinion without looking into it.
Yeah, well, I just wanted some clarification on some of the statements that Mr. Danko made in that complaint, because there's some serious ethical issues from us if what he says is true. And so I guess we'll take a look at the draft, and we'll reconvene on Tuesday for our scheduled meeting, and we will discuss, what's the other thing? There was another thing we had on there.
I don't know.
We're out, we're all tired.
Tuesday?
Yes. So, non-agenda. Anyone for any final closing comments? Yes, Mr. McDonald.
Kaylee, let the record reflect that the charter member who's our attorney did not send that to the mayor, but sent it to the other four. Okay, that they had that sent them directly, but the mayor was omitted, okay, by a charter member of this the city. You know, one of the things that really came crystal clear to me from reading your report was that there's some very serious problems here, and that is that we need a new HR manager and we need a new city manager, that's for sure. And I know you're working hard on the city manager part of it. But let me just say one other thing before I go, okay? We keep on talking about complying with the charter. There is absolutely no verbiage in the charter, okay, that you violated, okay? Stephen said so, I say so, and when it gets right down to it, real attorneys will say so. So you can go ahead and make up all how can I say? Let's not say it at all. The color that you want to add into this thing, it's not going to change anything. So, but let me just mention one other thing. What we've learned from being here today is who the 800-pound gorilla is in Flagler County and has always been for the last many decades. And that's Mr. Rice, or whoever had his position, which is Rayonier, which is pulling the strings on various people that are essentially pushing this forward and trying to create the large development on the west side. The city manager, I'm sure if you check it out, she has many, many conversations with Mr. Paul Rice all the time, and whoever it was before Mr. Rice, okay? That's who the 800-pound gorilla is in Flagler County. It's not Mr. Shimento, it's not Mr. Husseini that everybody goes around saying, it's none of those people, it's Paul Rice. So, lastly, okay, as far as following your charter, you didn't follow your charter. That's how you got Mr. Gambaro. Okay, and very simply this, back on the 27th of August, the acting city manager was required by the charter to declare that seat open by the charter because it was more than 2 years left remaining in Ms. Hyder's seat, and there was 6 months window before the election. And you guys, the former council, unilaterally decided to change the Florida statute, okay, on how to qualify. That's what you did. That's how we got Mr. Gambaro. Now, the only way that this is going to get undone is you can't go to the Florida Elections Commission because all they can do is slap her wrist. That's all they can do. This thing has got to go to court. It's going to go to court, and it's very simple. It's as simple as reading the city charter. That seat right there should have been on the November 5th election, and you can go and you can listen to the minutes. The former council said there were 5 to 6 days to qualify, and I can personally attest to the fact that I have qualified for office in the city of Palm Coast in 24 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Mr. Davis.
I want to address what I just witnessed from the city attorney. And let me be very clear, what I saw was not just disappointing, it was deeply conflicting and erodes public trust. As a resident, I expect the city attorney, the highest legal authority in this chamber, to be impartial, consistent, and firmly rooted in the law, not politics. What we witnessed today felt more like strategic positioning than legal clarity. When the interpretations of the rules or statutes shift conveniently depending on who is involved, that's not neutrality, that's manipulation. The city attorney's role is not to protect individuals on the dais. It's to protect the institution of city government and ensure that residents' rights, the charter, and the law are upheld, even when it's uncomfortable. But today, I didn't see an advocate for the law. I saw an advocate for damage control. You can't have it both ways. You can't call for transparency while standing behind legal interpretations that create confusion. You can't say you're upholding the charter while advising in a way that seems tailored to minimize accountability. That's a fundamental conflict of interest, and residents see it. I'm not here to play politics. I'm here to demand consistency, professionalism, and truth. When the city's legal advisor behaves in a way that feels partisan, protective, or evasive, it sets a dangerous precedent, not just for this council, but for every resident in this city. So I ask this council and everyone here to take a hard look at what just unfolded. If the legal guidance you are receiving is fueling confusion instead of clarity, conflict instead of resolution, then perhaps it's time we reevaluate the role and performance of our city attorney. Because Palm Coast deserves better. We deserve a legal voice that serves the public good, not selective protection. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, Miss Amy.
I'm sorry to come back. I just wanted to clarify, because I'm not a public speaker, that what I was saying about Mr. Danko is that it is that he's putting in this ethics violation, and I don't know how that comes into play with the situation here legally. But as I mentioned, Mr. Danko, who used to be on this council, didn't actually, care about the citizens, did whatever he wanted. He went a little bit crazy online and did some really unethical things, in my opinion, very defamatory posts online. But he also was the reason why there was that charter sunshine violation issue on October, I think it was 1st, at the city council meeting when Mr. Gambaro was appointed. And I think that needs to be rewound and figure out if we did violate anything when we appointed Mr. Gambaro, because obviously there's a lot of people now that are questioning his integrity and what he is, his position against our mayor. It does seem very vicious. I also want to apologize for the staff on behalf of everybody else, because I know that Mr. Norris, Mayor Norris, he is a kind, honest man, and he does not really want to offend, and he might have a strong way of governing, and that's why we elected him, but I don't think he ever really wanted to harm anybody personally or offend anybody, and I think that's really important when you look at somebody's, real ethics and why they're in that position, that he really does care about the people of Palm Coast. And I'm hoping that that prevails in this situation and that we can, walk away from this and put this whole thing, to rest in a nice manner.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
C.D. Rosell. I just have one question of Dias and the city attorney particularly, and maybe Mr. Brandon. Are you aware of ordinance number 218-9, section 1, adopted April 3, 2018? Are any of you aware of that?
You'd have to.
Oh, I got it here, yeah.
You'd have to read it out, CD, because nobody's
Well, I
going to
don't have the ordinance, but I have.
Chapter and verse.
Okay, editor's note, ordinance 2018-9, section 1, adopted April 3, 2018, approved proposed amendments to the charter, which in effect replaced the charter in its entirety. What version were you using? Serious question. Don't laugh. I mean, it's a serious question.
CD, please address the council.
Okay, yeah, I said, I'm just, what was he given?
I'm assuming he had the most updated version from 2023, I think.
Could you check on that?
Yes, sir, we will.
That's the only question I have.
Yes, sir.
I was shocked to see this when I read this.
Yes, sir.
And I was very surprised. But I've had people say comments to me that I went back into the charter the original charter of the powers of the mayor. So I went and looked it up, and that's when I came up with this, just out of a question for me. But that's a question that should be answered. Are we working from that amendment, or that approval amendments to the charter?
Yes, sir. I'll personally send you the copy that Ms. Cook sent me when I filed to run for office. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais for closing comments. Any closing comments by anyone?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just had a comment about Doge. So we've had a ton of residents, asking, can we be Doged, and what the ramifications of that are. The state's doing it. They're talking about different cities and counties. So I've been trying for what seems like months to get a hold of somebody within the office. I tried to get a meeting with them when we were in Tallahassee for lobbying efforts, when we were trying to ask for money from the state. But while there, I thought it would be a great time, was not able to get a meeting with them then. And I finally have some contact from the Doge office, and they sent me, kind of talked about, what's under the scope of your office, what's happening there. And so a lot of it is, they gave us some specifics, or gave me some specifics, and I'll share those with council. Had this conversation today just before the meeting, so hadn't had a lot of time to get it back to anybody else, but just wanted to bring it up. Basically what they told me to get the ball rolling is two things: a letter of support from the council, and then a resolution, and they gave me kind of a draft version of the resolution that we can change. It's the same thing with the letter of support. They said, by no means is this exactly what you need to send us. You can change it, define scope in different ways if you want to within the letter. My recommendation would just be going with kind of the blanket, everything that they have there, and I'll share that, but just wanted consensus from the council to try to move forward with those. Share the letter, maybe get a draft copy from the city attorney once we look through it, but they did say quicker is better. So if we can look through that, if the council consents to that, and then maybe if we can get consent to try to draft a resolution for the Tuesday business meeting, that way we can get it done as quickly as possible and get that out to them.
You wholeheartedly have my support on that, sir.
Yeah, my support too.
Yes.
Councilman Sullivan, do you support that? Councilman Sullivan. We have enough people in consent, yes. Could you get to the city manager and have her have with staff? And
Yes, yes, the answer is yes. Whoever was running the electronics here unmuted me without me knowing. Okay, yes, on that.
City manager, can we also, when that's brought back, if there's a cost associated with that, was there a cost?
I specifically asked about that because that's always a concern, and so they said that based on I believe it was an executive order from the governor, based on that order, the ask was to use existing personnel within the state and to not cost any of the municipalities or counties any money. So from my understanding, it would not cost the city of Palm Coast any money. What else? I didn't get a chance to ask timelines, how long it's going to take for any of this to occur. But I did get to I talked to a specific person whose name eludes me right now. Jason Kowalski, thank you. And so he gave me both his personal email, not personal, but with the state, as well as the email that came was from the Doge account. So he said if there's any specific questions about timelines, there's also like a FAQ that I didn't get to read through that may answer some of those questions. But I shared it to city manager just before we came in. She can share that to everybody else that will have those FAQs. And if not, we can reach out and talk to Jason specifically about any other questions, timelines, whatever, that we may have concerns about.
So Mayor and City Council, just thank you for the consensus and direction to move forward on this. Since your agenda for Tuesday hasn't been released and there's been some additional documentation after this meeting, we'll include the Doge letter of support on your agenda. So won't have it ready by 5, but as soon as I get the agenda out, we'll make sure that this is included.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
So you said, just so it's on the, you said the letter
We'll
for
have
Tuesday.
the letter of support and the resolution. Marcus
okay.
has a.
Gotcha.
Yep,
That's all I was concerned with, is also the resolution.
so you can take official action.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else Councilman Gambaro? Councilman Sullivan?
Nothing else right now.
Okay, motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Pull it back. We're not adjourned. Nobody agreed. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I just had two things.
Follow up. I'm sorry.
Okay, just want to thank you, Mayor and City Council. I know this was difficult, but I just wanted to take a moment to speak not as your city manager, but as a fellow member of this community. The tone we set at the dais in our organization and across our city, it matters. The hostility and divisiveness we're seeing both inside and outside this chamber is damaging to the fabric of our community. At the end of the day, we're all human. We make mistakes. Sometimes we're sinners. None of us is perfect, and we're all learning and growing, and sometimes, yes, we're falling short. But that doesn't mean that we should stop working towards better outcomes. Our job as public servants and as neighbors is to establish a culture that reflects integrity, mutual respect, and collaboration, and that starts with each of us. We acknowledge that many of the challenges we face today didn't begin yesterday. They're inherited, some are rooted in decisions made long before any of you took office or any of us assumed our current roles, but the responsibility to address them lies with us now. The council and us has an opportunity and an obligation to guide the city forward, not by dwelling on blame, but by embracing solutions, not by tearing down, but by building us up. Let's move forward as one city and one community committed to unity and the well-being of all of our residents. So I know that today was incredibly difficult, not only for the council, but for us as well. Just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. City Attorney, you got any closing comments?
None for me, sir.
And for you, Marcus, please call me tomorrow and we'll have a discussion about the 288.075.